Yo, what's up? Let me get my earpiece in. All right, and we are live. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. Should be able to hear me. And let me get this shared out as normal. Hold on just a second. Let me mute that. Why am I still hearing from that, though? And looks like we are going. Uh-oh. Did it not drop? Okay. So Facebook is going live in about 23 seconds. 2 minutes, 23 seconds. All right. Yeah, so we are live, y'all. What topics do we have today? Actually, do I need to share it out? It looks like I already sent the whatchamacallit. So I'll share them again in just a second. Topics for today. Let me get over here on Facebook so I can see what our topics are. And topics for today are new breeders. When should you start? Older breeders, when should you start over? Rhodes, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Why is this blocking my screen? We got somebody from Facebook. Yeah, if you are on, for some reason, now it looks like it's doing okay today, but for some reason, the Facebook comments do not always show up on, what is this called? StreamYard. So if you are on Facebook, join over to Thrower Bullies YouTube, subscribe, and then that way I can definitely see not only your comments, but if it does show me your comments, it also shows me who you are. Facebook doesn't show me who you are sometimes, and then other times it doesn't show me the comments whatsoever. So like this one right here is a perfect example. But thanks for joining in, whoever that is. Let's see exactly. Somebody said gonna jump to YouTube. Yeah, jump to YouTube. Thrower Bullies on YouTube so that that way I can see your comments. H-Town, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Bully Brad Kennels is in the house. Who else pulled up a chair? Solo Bully said, good evening. We got, what is that? Brady Finet is joining in. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Somebody from Facebook said, what's up, D? Salute to you too. What's up? Make sure you guys join over to the YouTube. That way I can see your comments. It looks like I'm seeing comments on Facebook so far, but it's not showing me the names. Let's see, who is this? Where did it go? Hold on. Okay, there we go. Mike B said, much respect from Long Island. What's up to the home of Rakim? Exactly. Exactly. The legend, the God MC. Derek Hatfield said, let's get it. Exactly. We about to. Brad Finney said, hey, man, quick question. Go ahead. Throw your question in there. That's what these lives is all about. Rose said, I'm going to create my own breed called the Bull Carneo. It'll have Bull Mastiff, Razor's Edge Bully, American Staffordshire Terrier, and Presa Canario. There you go. I feel you, and because I already like what you're doing with the Bandar program and where you headed with that. So, if you, matter of fact, whatchamacallit, H. Lee Robinson has who's American Sentinel Kennels. He breeds band dogs, and he finally took his band dogs, stopped breeding in other breeds, and then started his own breed, which is the American Sentinel. So to me, band dogs is a great way to go to create your own working breed and your own working line of breeds. Dom said, hell yeah, what's up? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. What's up, Jason? I'm doing good. We about to get this going. I'm about to touch on the topics in just a second. Casper's back in here. What's up, dude? Thanks for joining in. Mr. J, what's up, dude? And who else we got in here? Somebody from Facebook said hi from Indy. Oh, Indianapolis, I'm assuming. Thanks for joining in. Again, you guys, if you cross over to YouTube, not only will I guarantee be able to see your comments, I will also guarantee be able to see who you are. Let's see. Brady said, if I have a Chihuahua and breed it with a bully, would I have a ripped out Chihuahua? You would have what would that be? It wouldn't be a Chihuahua. any longer. It wouldn't be a bully any longer. You would have a ripped up mutt, because most Chihuahuas are pretty trim dogs. You don't see too many fat Chihuahuas. So there's no telling what you might get with that. Jay Rivera, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Betsy Spirit Rider is in the house. And who else? He said a chibully. Exactly. There you go. That's exactly what you would have. Or a bull wawa. So yeah, you gotta let us see it if you go through with it. Mike B said my 4-year female tested positive for Lyme's. The antibiotics have been really hard on her. Any advice for helping her bounce back? Up her nutrition intake, sugar intake. You can do sugar by adding Karo syrup to her meals. Also, a lot of our fruits have a lot of sugar in them. So you're looking at that are especially good for dogs: strawberries, blueberries. But you definitely want to up her intake. You also want to give her things that help clean her system out. So adding apple cider vinegar to her water. Carrots are a pretty good detoxifier. Anytime your dog is on antibiotics, any types of medications, you want to get things that are going to detoxify their system. Garlic is another one, a clove of garlic every other day. That's another good one. But these are the things that you want to up her in, and then just make sure she's getting more food with that medication. So adding raw ground beef to her food, things like that. That way it kind of doesn't dilute the medication, but it makes it affect her system and her attitude and mental a lot less. And then, you know, the other things can help boost her energy. And so definitely increase her food intake. Adding stuff that's got more fat to it helps it not affect her system as much. And then you also want her to be able to get things in and out of her system, pull the nutrients from, or pull the needs that she needs from the antibiotics, but then pass things out her system better. Garlic is great for that. Adding a teaspoon to a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to her water is great for that. Making sure she has lots of fresh water too. I give my dogs a pinch of Himalayan sea salt along with probably about a teaspoon to tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Probably say it probably is about, I don't do a lot of measuring, so it's probably about 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar, and it's in a bowl that's about this big. That's what they get first thing in the morning. Then later on in the afternoon, I dump that out, refill it with fresh water, and they just get nothing but fresh water later on in the day. And that way it keeps everything moving through their system. Let's see. Spirit says, sure wouldn't be chill. Not sure what that was. Hot mess. Dr. Dion Peoples, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Oh, for sure. You switched to the YouTube. Cool. Smooth said, what's up? Jay said it would be horrible. I think you guys got a separate conversation going on. Mike B said, thanks for the advice. Can dogs have honey? Yes, honey is great for dogs. Honey can also be something to assist because it also will help coat the stomach. So I should have thought of that. That's good you thought of it. Best honey is organic Manuka honey. If you can't find that, then you want to get organic honey. If you can get it from as close to your area as possible, the more potent the honey is. But honey is great for the dogs. One, it's got the sugar in it. Two, it's thick, so it helps coat the stomach. So that it's also got its own antibacterial agents in honey. So if you can get honey, that would also be a great additive for your dog while it's on an antibiotic that's messing with their stomach. A lot of times it's just messing with their stomach is what it's doing. And so the dog's just kind of out of it. Eric Maxwell said turmeric for the inflammatory factor of Lyme. Yes, very good. Turmeric is something I give to my dogs every other day. Turmeric is great for dogs. Now the thing about turmeric is it's kind of spicy. So if she's already having stomach issues, you might want to be careful with that aspect of it when it comes to turmeric. Also, another thing you can add is sardines. The oil in the sardines is good for the dog. It also helps with the stomach and it helps with the immune system. But turmeric is very good for dogs. I don't know that I would do it if she's having stomach issues right now. You know, maybe if you're going to do it a little bit lighter, but then if you do it lighter, then it may not assist with the inflammatory aspect of it. I also add, whenever I use turmeric, I add just a pinch of ground pepper, black pepper, because that also helps with the dog digestion, kicks in the enzymes to get the dog's digestion going and helps them get absorb the ingredients that they need from their other foods plus turmeric. That's why when you make a turmeric paste, they always say to add ground black pepper in it. But I think with her having stomach issues, I will hold off on the turmeric and the black pepper for right now. Once she gets going, then you can, you know, start adding that to it gradually. Let's see. Somebody said I made my own American Bully breed. I think that's still possible because, I mean, the stud books are still open. What's up, WKRK9? Thanks for joining in. Nicole Luton said, how do you fix a high rear? If you got a high rear, it's very difficult. The best thing that you can do is work on the muscles in the back leg. One, your high rear could be due to shoulder set and weak pasterns. So raise the food bowl, leave the water low, raise the food high. That's what I always tell people: food high, water low. Animals naturally eat somewhat higher than their feet. They naturally drink somewhat lower than their feet. The average lake or whatever they're drinking from is lower than their feet. So water low to avoid any bloat or anything and choking, and then food high. Raise the food bowl so that the dog is standing up, using its muscles to eat from the food. Don't have it too high where you can't get to every portion of the bowl and isn't cleaning it out. But get them to stand up. That will help raise up the front end if you're dealing with a weak pastern issue. As far as the actual rear, the only real thing that you can do is working that back out and working the, sometimes there's a dip. You start letting the dog hit the spring pole, taking long walks, doing sprints. That will build the muscle in along the back. That will help cover up that dip. Also, with the rear, building the muscles in the back legs will kind of contract the muscles and the back legs to give a little more. May not even be that noticeable, but you will get a little more angulation due to the muscles being built up in the back leg, and that can help with the rear. I would start off, like I've said before, walking uphill fast. Not fast, because I messed up saying that last time. You have your regular pace that you walk your dog. Walk the dog slightly faster going uphill, slightly slower going downhill. That will help build up those rear muscles and build up that front and those pasterns. Raising the food bowl, using a spring pole. Make sure that the dog's feet are able to touch the ground so that the dog is just so that the front feet are off the ground about that much and that the dog is constantly pulling, working those back legs. If you've got sand, mud, high grass, anything like that near you, playing with the dog, roughhousing, throwing the ball in there, that's going to help work out those back legs along with those pasterns. Near me, I use what I call hill runs. We have a hill by us that is just all dirt, probably for about like 2-3 stories. I take the ball, I throw it to the top of there. And I have a video of Cardi running up, doing her hill runs on that hill. But take the ball, throw it to the top of there so that the dog runs up and gets it. If you've never done hill runs before, start off slow because you don't want the dog going all the way up and coming down full speed, because a lot of times they have to kind of learn how to come downhill, and they'll learn it on their own. It's not something you teach them. So do it just about halfway so that the dog kind of gets it, start going higher and higher, and then to where you see your dog is actually coming down under control from the hill. So make sure you start those slow. Those exercises should help build up the rear legs to get you a little more contraction as the muscle builds, and then that contraction will help you get angulation, which will bring the rear down a little bit. Sometimes it's not noticeable, sometimes it is. Let's see, spread love. Oh, not hate. I was trying to say no thought. Spread love, not hate. What's up, man? So what's up from Michael Ross here? Oh, what's up, dude? Thanks for joining in. With Joshua and current QBNK stack off champ. Exactly. That was a nice stack off yesterday. That was a good one. Let's see who else we got in here. Francisco's in the house. Who else pulled up a seat? Why does it keep jumping like that? Okay, Doms, what's up, man? Said that clove of garlic, though. I just started that, and fasting them seems to be helping out big time. Yes, fasting is great. If you are on, like the previous person put, if you're on dogs on antibiotics, you don't want to fast. Keep the food intake going until the dog is off the antibiotics. If the dog is off antibiotics, fasting is one of the best things you can do to build the dog's immune system and get them to absorb what nutrients are left from the food they've been eating all week. Rashad Kelly said, I know you should wait until third heat to breed, but what's too late in life for first breeding? Good question. I don't know that there's a too late. Here's the thing with not breeding. When we go and we get a progesterone test done, progesterone is what a female builds up in her system. Progesterone also deteriorates her uterus. So the more heats a female has, the more degraded her uterus becomes, and the more likely you are to have issues with her getting pregnant. And that's just a natural thing with the uterus. So the best thing to do is to breed as soon as possible, because there's less deterioration from her heat cycles to her uterus. Third heat is perfect. There hasn't been much deterioration at all, if any. When you start getting 6, 7, 8 heat, that's when you're starting looking at the uterus being less effective than what it is, because of the chemical in there called progesterone, which tears down the lining of the uterus. So I would say third heat is perfect. Fourth heat is good. Fifth heat is good. I mean, you're still talking about a young dog. So I would say when the dog starts to hit that 5, 6-year-old age, that's when you're looking at possibly having smaller litters or more difficulty in getting pregnant, because she's had so many heat cycles that is tearing down the uterus. Let's see. Spread love, not hate said, what is a high arc pastern? Is it good, bad? I'm not sure I understand. Okay. A high pastern, weak pasterns. When your dog is, where's Cardi? She's outside right now. So your dog's walking on his foot. His foot is, make sure I'm on camera. His foot is here, and then the pastern goes up. Well, the pastern on a dog is supposed to be straight up or a slight angle. A lot of times with dogs, you'll notice there is kind of more of an angulation going on because the dog has weak pasterns. If you get that dog to stand alert and at attention, it's going to use all the muscles in its pasterns, and you'll see the pastern go straight up. And I didn't know our human arms weren't made to do that. So that's how you want the dog. Weak pastern, the dog is going to be up, but the pastern is going to be out a little bit. It causes splayed toes, things like that. Nails not being clipped correctly and short enough can also cause weak pasterns. So by getting the dog to stand at it, one of the best ways for pasterns to fix it is raising that food bowl, because it causes them, while they're eating, to be raised up on their pasterns. And so you'll see it go from the paw, and then it goes straight up rather than from the paw and kind of angled up a little bit. So look at your dogs closely and you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm trying to think if there's any way I can throw something on the screen here. Hold on, let me see here. That might mess me up. Let me avoid doing that. But yeah, hit me up. You can hit me up, Spread Love, on Messenger through Facebook, and I can send you a little bit more so that you get an exact idea of what I'm talking about. But just think, most of the times we picture the foot and then it goes straight up into the leg. Well, there's another little joint in there called the pastern. And if it's weak, then it just kind of lays down a little more than it should. Let's see here. Casper said, in one of QBN's videos, he recommends to have 4 to 5 foundation females, but doesn't mention males. How many foundation males would you recommend? I would say if it's your foundation, I would say you want at least 2. We have 2, for instance, that come from our breeding. So we have King, then we have 2 males, which are his sons. And we haven't kept any females as of yet. We got rid of all our females. So our next breeding with King and Cardi Bull will be 100% focused on females. We breed slow. We build everything one step at a time. I'm not saying everybody has to do that. But we also had obligations to people who wanted dogs from us before we got into Bullies. So that's why we kind of had to do what we did. But I would say you definitely, I'll say if you've got 4 to 5 females and you want to have 2 males to go with those 4 to 5 females. Let's see here. Francisco said, what can you do if Bully has grass allergies? If your dog has grass allergies, that means it has an extremely weak immune system. Your veterinarians aren't going to want to tell you that. They'd rather give you Band-Aids, which is prescriptions for those allergies. If your dog has allergies, Benadryl helps. You want to boost the immune system. Some of the things I said earlier, garlic, sardines, canned sardines, make sure they're in water, no sauce, just no oil. Fish already has enough oil. So canned sardines, spinach, what else? The pumpkin, blueberries, strawberries, sweet potato. These are things that will help build the dog's immune system. Fasting once a week. That means you go 24 hours where the dog doesn't eat. These things boost the immune system and will help because you don't want to keep your dog on Benadryl. Just help it with what it's going through right then, switch the food system, and hopefully it does better. And that's when it comes to allergies. When it comes to allergies and breeding, I would suggest when you've got dogs that are allergic to, now this is my opinion, when a lot of people talk about bettering the breed, but then they're breeding dogs with allergies or they're feeding raw to avoid allergy issues. If you got dogs that are allergic to any form of meat, grass, things like that, you need to really think twice on breeding those dogs, because then they're passing those issues and then people are just doing Band-Aids to fix it, but not really fixing the issue. So a lot of people are breeding. I mean, a lot of people live and die by feeding raw to their dogs. One of the issues I have with raw is it covers up the fact of if there's immune system issues to grain and regular kibble and things like that. So just think twice about eating, but those should help you help your dog build up its immune system. Mr. J said, are we talking about the post where the guy's dog attacked an approaching dog? We can chop it up if you want. If you want to get into that, we can chop it up. I kind of looked at that situation. I didn't look at it as that big of a deal as everybody else did. According to the gentleman that happened, that what took place was he had his dogs off leash. Another guy had his dogs off leash. They were in an area where the off-leash dogs, his off-leash dogs were right with him. Another guy had his dogs off leash and the dog came running up to his dogs. His dogs attacked the dog. I look at that in 2 situations. One, none of the dogs should have been off leash, so they're both at fault. I'm a person that is used to having aggressive dogs that are dog aggressive or human aggressive. They weren't bullies, but they're other breeds that I've had. So therefore, I always give other people the benefit of the doubt and the leeway. If I'm walking, for instance, Floyd, I cross the street when other people are coming with their poodles and German shepherds and dogs that I know don't have the level of aggression that he has. Cardi Bulls, though she's not extremely dog aggressive, she's just a big dog. She's a thick boned dog and she's intense. So I give people the leeway. If I was in that situation and had my dogs off leash, because I have had dogs off leash in places where I wasn't supposed to, but I've always had control over those dogs by command and through training. So if I do have my dogs off leash and somebody's coming, their dog's coming, I will definitely put my dogs on leash. Now, if your dog is closing distance and I'm yelling for you to get your dog and you're taking your time, which a lot of people do for some reason, and they get into it, they just get into it. I'm not getting between my dogs and your dog and getting myself bit by your dog. I know my dogs aren't going to bite me to get to another dog. They're not going to bite me even in breaking up a fight. But I'm not going to get myself in that mix. Yeah, my dogs are going to be on leash. Once the fight starts, I'm dropping the leash. I'm not holding on to my dog's leash once a fight starts. And then you need to hurry up and get there so you can help me break up the fight due to your dog coming over to our area. That's how I look at that situation. I think a lot of people made a big deal of it. And I think him kind of getting tired of them making a big deal of it kind of caused him to kind of have more of a defensive attitude, which came off bad to those people who were already making a big deal of it. But I mean, it's dogs. Things happen. Let's see. Dion People said, remember, coconut oil is your dog's friend. Yes, good. And it's their breast friend also. Also good as a rub, as a topical on dogs to help detract dirt and dust. And also helps prevent fleas and ticks from getting on your dogs because they don't like it. Stuart Flagg said, hi from Louisville. What's up, Stuart from Louisville? Thanks for joining in. Mike B said, congratulations. Yeah, Michael Ross, who won the stack off yesterday. That was a good one. Let's see. Mike said, is hog or coyote hunting a good substitution for the box? It is a great substitution. Floyd, that's his deal. Hogs, coyotes, bobcats, that's his love. Problem with Floyd and hogs is Floyd is 3/4 old family red nose, 1/4 boxer. His dad was half boxer bred. His dad was half three. His dad, okay, so his mom was 100% old family red nose Norog line. She bred to a boxer. The boxer, they produced a dog which was his dad, that was half old family red nose and half boxer. He was then bred back to the mom, which is what created Floyd, which is why he's so damn nutty. Hogs is not a good thing for Floyd because he turns it into a fight. Rather than catching and holding on, he turns it into a fight, which can cause other dogs to get injured. Coyotes, bobcats, that's his deal. He loves it. That's his favorite thing. And I had a bull lurcher. She would catch a coyote, catch a bobcat. As soon as Floyd got there, she'd let it go and just let Floyd. She'd stand there with me. She would have the nerve to stand there with me and watch him fight. If it got away, she'd run it down again. But that's his thing. It's a great substitute and a great outlet for dogs that are animal aggressive. Casper said yes and no. Not sure what he's talking about. I'm assuming he's talking about the thing though with it is you have to make sure that your dogs are in shape. What I always tell people is you got to remember that we don't just drop our dog off on the hog or the coyote or bobcat, whatever it is you may be hunting. You're releasing your dog. So your dog is sprinting, could be a mile, 2 miles, 4 miles. You might be walking 8 miles through the wood before they do the sprint for 1 mile to 2 miles to get to there. Then they get there and then now it's an all out fight. So you have to really make sure your dogs are conditioned because if they lose stamina as they lose the adrenaline rush, that stamina needs to be there so that they can maintain intensity. If they start to lose stamina, they will lose intensity and then put themselves in position to get injured because they start to lose the ability to think also. So you just want to make sure that the dog is 100% in shape. Let's see. Somebody said, what's up, Private Stock Bullies? What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. All right, let's go ahead because we got a bunch of comments for me to catch up with. Let's go ahead and see if we can catch up with them and then start the topics. Dr. Dion People said, my girl Misha is still not taking to the spring pole. All right, I'm gonna hit you up about that, and we'll figure out some tricks to get her on that because I know we talked about that last time. So I'll hit you up. Hit me up to remind me to hit you up too. Danny Lay, what's up? She said, what do I give to help heal skin and coat? One of the best things for skin and coat is coconut oil. Applying coconut oil to wherever those issues are. Another one is this right here. New Stock is one of the best things that I've come across. It's old school, but you can only use it. I have to read the directions, but you use it every 3 to 4 days. So what I do with New Stock is I use it on whatever the issue is, and it's also good for just healing in general, but also bringing the coat back. But on the days in between, use coconut oil in those spots, and you should see miracles within, I'd say, 10 days, 10 to 14 days. Danny said also, what do you give to heal? Okay, same question. Let's see. Spirit says 6 years, in my opinion. Not sure what that was. Somebody said, what's up, brother? What's up? I can't see I see your comment at least, but it's not showing me who you are. Again, if you guys join YouTube, Thrower Bullies on YouTube, subscribe, then I can see your comments and who you are. We're going to get ready to get into the topic. Spring start with UT low, so they're getting it is easier as they get used to grabbing and tugging on it. You then rise it. You know what? Betsy, he and I were talking about that before, but he's saying she's still not gravitating to it. So we'll fix that. Find whatever toy she gets hooked on and then attach it to the pole. Bring the pole down, attach it to the pole. And if you hold on to it, a lot of times she thinks you're holding it. She'll grab it. You keep playing with her while it's on there. Then all of a sudden let her go and she should be good. But hit me up and we'll get into it. What do you think about XL male breeding to a standard female? We took a double XL with it, and we're going to get into that topic, male to a pocket female, and had a great litter off of that. So I don't see a problem with it. A lot of the XL people do breed to standards because, especially for the show ring, because they want the smaller, more compact XL right at that 20 to 21 inch mark. But let's go ahead and get into the topics. So we'll start from the bottom. After today, gentleman made a post in the Giant XL Bully group and about double XLs and what are they. And people had a fit. Double XLs don't exist. That's just a marketing term. All the things you hear. Here's the truth. All that is bullshit. For whatever reasons in the bully community, we have a lot of people who are loyal to their mentors and whatever their mentors first told them, not realizing a lot of times their mentor didn't know what they were talking about. So when it comes to the double XL style dog, it's not a class. And a dog doesn't have to be a class. It doesn't have to have a written standard. Let me take that back. A breed doesn't have to have a written standard, doesn't have to have a class, doesn't have to have a registry to exist. All it takes is the concept to get going and then become consistent. That's what it takes to have a breed. So when it comes to the double XL style dog, American Bully, and the XL American Bully are the oldest forms of the American Bully along with the standard. The pocket came later. So if the double XL don't exist, then the pocket don't exist. Forget what a registry and what's written on paper as a standard says. That's just how dogs are done. That is the truth of dogs. There are people who breed the double XL, which would be, so since a registry now took over and gave it a standard, 20 to 23 inches for the XL. The double XL dogs are dogs that are intentionally bred to be larger than that. That's it. It's just a style of the XL. Hence, which is why when Dave Wilson was asked, is there ever going to be a double XL class? He said no. Because why? They are just XLs bred above the standard. They are also welcome into the show ring as long as they have breed type. The problems with the double XL are the same problems that we find with the XL and even the standard. You have dogs with longer muzzles, dogs that are too narrow, dogs that lack bone, lack girth. And that's where the problem comes with the double XL style dog. The double XL style dog has the same issues as the XL and as the standard, and that's breed struggling to meet breed type. That's it. So yes, double XL style dogs do exist. Next topic. Zachariah Barron said, kennel size, how big is too big for one or two people to handle? Number of dogs, assuming there is already sufficient space and resources. We'll get to that because one of the other topics is new breeders knowing when to start and older breeders knowing when to start over. So we're going to make that part of that topic. Another topic was, okay, what's a Dogman? I made a post in several groups asking what was a Dogman. And a lot of people gave various answers. Somebody that knows a lot about dogs. People that know how to heal dogs. People who dogs take over their life. People who have been breeding for 10 years. People who help teach the community. People who all this stuff is not true. That's not what a Dogman is. A Dogman is and will always be one thing and one thing only. And that is a man or woman who has gained knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of dogs through their experience working dogs. The only thing that should be up for question is how long is that experience? I know dogmen that don't breed. They're never looking to breed. They want puppies at 5 weeks old, and they're never looking to breed because they don't like dealing with litters. I know dogmen that are crooked, will lie to you, don't want to teach nobody nothing, but they know dogs. They have a true understanding of dogs. The reason why a dog man has to have a certain amount of experience, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that comes from working dogs is that is the only way to truly see dogs in their true nature. Opening up your kennel, Letting 5-year dogs out at the same time does not show you that those dogs to their true nature. True nature is what you see when dogs are in extreme situations. So when I say working, what is working dogs? Working is anything that puts a dog up against an animal or man or beast. So whether he's hunting, herding, protection, racing puts a dog in race against another dog, chasing after whatever the prey is that's running in front of them, which is usually that little motorized rabbit. That's what working a dog is. Working is not spring pole, even though we have a habit of saying that. Working is not the show ring. Working is not dock diving. Working is not a dog that's helping somebody who's handicapped, service dogs. Those aren't working. Those are human things that have nothing to do with the dog's nature. The working is not dock diving. Working is not pulling weight pulling. That's not working. Those are all human activities. The dog doesn't even understand the full purpose of it, and he's not bred or created to understand the full purpose of it. So that's the definition of a dog man. Next topic, and a lot of people, another thing, dogmen rarely call themselves dogmen unless they're sitting amongst other dogmen talking. Then you'll hear them say things like us dogmen, or as a dogman, we should, blah, blah, blah. Rarely does a dogman jump in front of people who are not also dogmen and say, I'm a dogman. And to prove my point with what I was saying before is, one, when you call yourself a dogman, that's like me reminding my son that I'm his father. You know, dogman is a title that is earned by peers. Not just something, a title that you give yourself and constantly call yourself. Breeding, you could have 100 litters. That don't make you a dog man. Being a veterinarian doesn't make you a dog man. Being a professional dog trainer does not make you a dog man. It just doesn't. A dog man is somebody, like I said, who has knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of working dogs, conditioning dogs for that work. And what is work? Work is anything that puts that dog against man or beast. Herding, hunting, racing, protection. Yes, the box, fighting. Those are things that put those dogs in true dog situations, so that you can get a true understanding of the dog in front of you to get your ideas and evaluations on breeding. Next, Stephen Duke said, at what point do you intervene with puppies? Do you allow dominance and resource guarding in puppies? What about, and I'm gonna get to you guys' comments in just a second. What about when interacting with kids? When it comes to puppies, there's a balance, because the dominant pup, you want him to be able to express his dominance within the litter. At the same time, you don't want him crushing the will of other dogs with other pups within the litter. You don't want him crushing or killing their spirit. So I look at it like this. When you have a pup and he's dominating another pup, worst case scenario, I will separate him from those pups and put him with other pups that are more dominant. If you want to be that way, cool. Be that way with the other pups in the litter that are more dominant. That way, the pups that are getting the bad end of the worst end of the stick get to build their confidence with each other. And then the pups that are more dominant get to build their confidence or decide if that's who and what they really want to be. When it starts getting too intense and it turns into a fight, that's when you want to break it up, or it comes to a point where one puppy is just hurting another. Floyd is a perfect example of that. He had to be separated from his litter at 4.5 weeks old, put into a separate area. And then by 5 weeks old, he started actually attacking his mom. I had to come pick him up at 6 weeks old. So that's what you want to watch out for, is things like that. But again, he's not a bully. He's a whole different monster. And what about when interacting with kids? As far as interacting with kids, you want to teach them how to interact with kids by teaching them how to interact with you. If the puppy's doing a lot of biting, they got those sharp puppy teeth. When you feel those teeth, you want to tell that pup, no, you don't want him biting. People get caught up playing in puppies' mouths. That's teaching bad habits. So you want to put an end to that. So before they start with kids, start with you teaching those pups how to play. Best thing you can do with a pup, I know a lot of people, they get bit, they say, ow, they put the pup back in the kennel and they don't play with it. You're taking forever to teach the puppy what the mom would have taught him in seconds. Pup bites you, too hard, he's getting carried away, give him a little pop on the nose with 2 fingers and make him stop and back away. He's going to approach you. If he approaches you in the same energy, you do the same thing. Eventually, he's going to be a little hesitant, and he's going to approach you, and he'll approach you calm. At that point, you want to pet him and let him know now he's approaching and he's playing correctly. But get the puppy to understand there are toys for you to bite and play on. I'm not that toy, neither are the children. We're almost to the end of the topic, so let me go ahead and jump back into the comments and see where we are at. Let's see. Villet said, what's up with everyone? Spirit said, I didn't raise Bailey for air till she was almost 2. Not sure what that is. Air. Oh, you mean air, as far as like on the spring pole. Exactly. My advice is if you got a dog over 70, and I repeat, I know people have seen Cardi Bull is 103 pounds. There's one video of her spinning, going crazy on the spring pole. We don't do that all the time. Matter of fact, we rarely ever do it. It was just that one time that we did it just to see how driven she was to hang from it at her weight. My advice is if you got a dog over 70 pounds, you want to start really thinking about whether you want the spring pole risen to where they're off their feet, where they're off of their back feet. You start hitting that 80 to 100 pounds, I always advise make sure that their back feet can reach the ground. And the spring pole should have flex to it, whether it's bungee cords, spring. Tree branches are great because they bend. You want that dog to be able to jump up, get it, and when it gets it, it comes back to the ground so that the front end is up and the rear is down, and then the dog can pull and work itself out. Let's see. Beth B said onions and garlic cause hemolytic anemia. No, onions do. Onions and garlic are both in the, and I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, the alum family, I think is how you pronounce it. Onions are bad for the dog. Now, in the old days, we gave our dogs onions. Well, I remember when my mom would make a stew and that stew was getting old, we gave it to the dogs and they got the onions with it. But of course, the onions were cooked out. When it comes to garlic, one of the problems that happened is when they did that research, they were using extract, which was extremely potent. And they started giving the dogs the extract rather than actual garlic cloves. And then the thing came out that garlic was bad for dogs. Since then, new research has been done to show that garlic is actually extremely good for dogs. I give my dogs 1 clove of garlic every other day. If you have smaller dogs, so when I had my Jack Russell Fox, Boogie, rest in peace, she got half a clove of garlic every other day. But you can give your dogs, larger dogs, 1 clove of garlic every day. I just do it on my veggie days, veggie and fruit days, which is every other day. So that's that with the garlic. But yes, if you look into that now, you will find where newer research has been done, and garlic is actually very good for your dog. Smooth Bully said local honey. Yes, if you can't find Manuka honey, next best thing is local honey. If you can't find local honey, next best thing is just organic honey from your store. But local honey hasn't done a lot of traveling, so therefore it is a lot better for the dog. Brady said, yeah, Mr. Segunza, I'm waiting on her 3rd heat. Meanwhile, looking for that right degree for my pedigree. There you go. Let's see. Bully Brad Kennel said, can we really say it covers up allergies when raw was what they were meant to eat in first place, not kibble? I feed kibble, by the way, but can we say raw is a cover up when we feed what's not meant to be? Yes, because we took them from eating natural food that they kill, fresh food that they kill. Then they started eating food that we cooked and left behind. Then we domesticated them and they started eating food that we cooked and gave them as leftovers. From that, we started creating kibble. So for about 100 years, these dogs have adjusted to kibble. Now when we go and we say we want to feed raw because we want to make them wolves again, which they never really were, but we want to make them wolves again, dogs are having issues with raw. You're starting to see more and more issues showing up because of more and more people feeding raw. The best thing you could do is feed a quality kibble and add to that kibble raw ground beef, raw chicken, fruits and vegetables. That's the best thing you can do because that's what your dog has been designed to eat for decades. Its parents, its parents, parents, its parents for generations. That's what these dogs have been designed to eat is kibble. Most of you know, I say it, I feed my dogs pedigree or Purina One, and I mix it with what I mix their food with: raw ground beef, sardines, fruits and veggies, things like that, different oils that I add to it. If you look at kibble as a filler, that's the best way to look at it. So on Saturdays, for instance, my dogs, I used to just give them kibble and then fast them on Sundays. Now I started feeding the regular regimen on Saturdays and then fasting on Sunday. But they get a little less food on Saturdays, and the less food tends to be kibble on Saturdays. And then Sundays, they don't eat at all. And then they're back to eating on Mondays. And I start based off what I think their needs are. If I think they need to gain weight, then I start with my protein. Well, I start protein days on Mondays. If I get to Sunday or come to Monday and I want to give, and I don't think they need to gain weight, then I go with fruit and veggies days to keep that immune system going, because now it's more potent due to the fact they didn't eat at all the day before. But we started feeding raw because the dog's having issues with grain. Raw all of a sudden got popular. Grain free got popular. I feel if your dog has allergy issues that it doesn't grow out of if your dog grows out of its allergy issues by a year, 1 to 2 years, I feel that dog is okay to breed with a dog that has no allergy issues. If your dog is having allergy issues after 2 years old, you really need to think twice on whether you should be breeding that dog. And if we're using raw to mask allergy issues, then we're never going to find, which is why you have so many people feeding raw and you have so many allergy issues nowadays. Now dogs are all of a sudden becoming allergic to raw chicken and things like that. No dogs, they're predators, so they should never be allergic to any form of meat. Let's see, Montgomery said quercetin is a great option for allergies. I'm not sure what I think that's the medication. If I'm not mistaken, let me know because I'm not sure what that is. Castro said, is there a way to tell if a puppy will be dog aggressive in the future? We knew Floyd was going to be dog aggressive because, like I said, he was trying to kill his litter mates at 4.5 weeks old. By 5 weeks, he was separated from them. When the mother would start at 5 to 6, around 5 to 5.5 weeks old, when the mother would jump in there with him, he would attack her too. I brought him home at 6 weeks old and let him meet my Jack Russell. She whooped his butt a couple times, and he learned to calm himself down. But it's hard to tell it at such a young age unless they're actually attacking their litter mates aggressively. But that tends to come with a sense of gameness, not necessarily, protection or defensive or dominance or rank drive. Because a dog can be rank driven but still not dog aggressive, or dominance driven but still not be dog aggressive, or prey driven and still not be dog aggressive. So it's hard to tell at that age until you start really seeing their responses to other dogs. And then he says, I know it could be 50-50 nature versus nurture. Exactly. So if you get that dog out there and you start socializing it with dogs and it's just not taking to it, Floyd, because of his hunting with other people and other people's dogs, friends I have, people bringing their dogs over to our house all the time. I tried to socialize him by taking him to dog parks. He wanted nothing to do with other dogs. And the only dogs he would have something to do with at like 4 months old, 4 or 5 months old, the only dogs he would interact with were dogs that came into the park aggressively or just extremely dominant, and he would turn it into a fight. And he was only 4 or 5 months old trying to fight adult dogs. So finally, we could have taken him to the dog park. We came to the conclusion that's just not Floyd's deal. Other dogs, other animals, and we stopped people from bringing their dogs to the house because this is his home. And that's just how we dealt with it. But it is hard to tell. What I would say, Castro, just watch them closely. Watch them closely how they're triggered. Dogs whose hair stands up on their back tend to be dogs that you can kind of reform if you watch them. The tail going up. Anything that a dog does to make bigger, growling, barking, tend to be dogs that you can work with and socialize them to get them more accepting of other dogs. Floyd, for instance, his hair don't stand up on his back. His tail don't go up. he's only got a nub, but it's just a fight. There is no barking, there's no growling. He just shoots, he's silent, he just goes straight for it, full speed. There's no sniffing, no trying to be taller. There's none of that. You know what I mean? So if you're seeing those type of signs, dogs who tend to be extremely animal aggressive or dog aggressive, take a while to start lifting their leg when they pee because they're not concerned with territory. They would prefer a dog come into their territory. You'll notice little things like that. Like, I don't think Floyd he didn't start lifting his leg to pee till he was probably about a year, 2 years old, because he had no need to mark territory. We couldn't even breed Floyd till he was about 5 or 6 years old because it didn't matter to him that a female was in heat. He just got along with my Jack Russell. He got along with my Bull Lurcher, Kayla, and we ended up getting a Razor's Edge female. She was a classic style Razor's Edge female. He became cool with her, but it took a while. It took a long while, but they're all females, so it was easy to be done. Cardi Bull, he was cool with Cardi Bull. He was able to accept her, but they had to be puppies, and they had to be it took a while, even with them being puppies. But he almost killed one of his own pups from his own litter because the pup got out when he happened to be out. And it was just a split second, and I grabbed him. And that was actually the first time I ever saw him sniff a dog he didn't know. He sniffed the pup, and right when his eyes fixated to snatch it, I was able to grab him. But that's what you have to, you just got to watch those little signs. But usually if a dog displays aggression, growling, barking, hair standing up on the back, you can work with them on socializing them if you start early enough. If you don't start early enough, you're going to need a really experienced trainer to help you do that. What up, Tony Moss? Thanks for joining in. Damn, why did the comments jump up again? There they go. Dom said, if my dog ain't going to protect itself, is it really a dog? I don't feel it is. Dogs are pack. A dog is a purpose-driven companion species. The purpose part comes because they've been around man so long. All these dogs came from dogs that had some type of purpose, and then were bred together to create other breeds. The companion aspect we are able to manipulate due to the fact that they are pack animals. And part of being a pack is the willingness to protect your pack and, of course, yourself. So if a dog's not going to protect itself, if it's not going to protect its family, its home, I'm not breeding it. And a lot of you know the gauntlet that we put our bullies through before we decided who we were going to breed and who we weren't going to breed. I just feel the dog should naturally protect its home, but still should be able to be, social with other dogs, other people, if that's what you want. But it should definitely be able to be social with other people, especially those that come into your home. And if you're breeding American Bullies, it says exuberant willingness to please, zest for life. The drives that are required to accomplish those things, you're usually going to get a protective dog if you breed for those things. The dog is supposed to also be supposed to be friendly towards strange dogs. The ABKC version is supposed to be friendly to strange dogs and strange humans. You should be able to achieve that with a dog that will protect itself. The protective drive is different from dominant drive, game drive, prey drive. It's a whole separate drive. So if more breeders paid attention to the temperaments of their dogs and the drives that make up those temperaments and the thresholds that make up those drives and focus on protective drive, you can breed dogs that are protective but still get along with everybody and every dog. Let's see. The Montgomerys, what's up? Said MCT oil is also great for overall health, and diatomaceous earth great for fleas and ticks. Yes. The thing with diatomaceous earth, I remember back when I was young, people were giving diatomaceous, putting it in the diet of their dog to get rid of parasites, and it apparently worked. But then later on, it became an issue that it basically is designed to cut up parasites as they come across it, insects, bugs, as they come across it. It kind of slowly cuts through that exoskeleton of insects. And then people were saying that it was doing the same thing to the stomach. I don't know if that was proven in the intestinal system. I don't know if that was proven or whatever, but I know there's also a diatomaceous earth now that is actually made for dogs and specifically for dogs, and that is supposed to be good for your pets, getting rid of parasites and cleaning out their system. Castro said, know of any working boxer kennels? I assume most would be in Germany. The only ones I've ever known of have been in Germany. The boxer that became part of Floyd's lineage was used for protection. He was from Germany, and that breeding was actually an accident that took place. But he was used for protection at the time. And he was from Germany. I only know of boxer kennels in Germany that are great for protection. Bully Bred Kennels said for new stock you can use an oil every day, but in the ears it's only 3 days. I think you're only supposed to use the oil. I think you're saying to use the oil in the ears only every 3 days. I'm not sure. But new stock is great around the dog. I think no matter where you use it, it should only be hold on. Let me read the directions. I'm not going to read if I have to pull out my glasses, so hold on. Where's the directions? Man, this is so worn. I don't even see it on here. But it's every 3 days. I think it's every 3 days for new stock. If you get it, just read the directions. It says it right on the tube. But I think it's every 3 days. It might be 4, but I think it's 3. And then in between there, like I was saying earlier, and like Bully Bred Kennel said, use the oil in between there, so that in between those days. On the day you use the new stock, don't use the oil. On the day you don't use the new stock, use the oil. Remember, though, new stock stinks, so you don't want once you use it, make sure your dogs are outside for a while. You don't want them rubbing it on your couch or anything like that. Let's see. The Montgomery said new stock is a great product. Yes, it is. Yeah, Brian giving a shout out to Michael Ross for his victory yesterday. That was a good one. No, you're correct. 3 days for everything. Okay, cool. And then somebody said, how early can females go into heat? Small dogs can. I think Fox went into her first heat at like 6 months. But it could be anywhere from 6 months to a year. I know of some dogs it's been 11, 12 months, but typically you're going to get it right. I would say typically you're going to get that first heat right around 10 months. You said my girl will be 5 months this Saturday. Don't worry about it. She's got time. Right in that 7 to 10 month, right around that 10-month range is when you start noticing them going into their heat cycle. If it's not 10 months, that's cool. If it's a year, that's when you might want to start, having them check. Kings of Bully Excellence said, peace and blessings. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. What's up, Hotep? Thanks for joining in. Major League, salute back to you. Let's see. Eric Maxwell saying, teach the kids how they should interact and react to overexcited puppy. Exactly. A lot of dealing with the pups takes you as the parent teaching the kids the right way to play with the pup and teaching the pup the right way to play with the kids. No dog should be overly excited or made overly excited in the house, because then you are about to cause a disaster. So when the dog learns place and time, that we do roughhousing outside, not inside, it makes it better. Now, my son, we roughhouse with our dogs where we want, when we please. We're working on Cardi because she's a little too damn rough on not doing it so much in the house. But typically we've always kind of done it because our dogs, we just kind of have a way with dogs where they know when to stop and when not to. But I would say for the most part, you want to teach rules, boundaries, and space and time. Rose said, do you think there are some pure razor's edge dogs left? I have no idea. I got that female. And then I got that female. Other than that, I was never really into bullies. It was my wife that really wanted her. Hey, Mikey, do you take that from her for now? That bottle or whatever she has? So I have no idea because I don't really look into the breed like that. And I would I'm sure there are some who are still true to it. Valet said, oh, what's up, Asani? Thanks for joining in. I didn't know who that was. Let's see. Jonathan Soto, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Because I looks French. Betsy always has her own topics going on in the live with people. But that's why I love her joining. Solo, what? My bad. Hold on. Solo said, "What is the garlic for?" Garlic is good, a good detoxifier. It is good for cleansing the blood, getting the blood flow going correctly, digestion, the immune system. It's good for damn near everything when it comes to us and dogs. Even just garlic being in the system comes through the pores of the dog a little bit, which helps, fight off or prevent ticks and fleas. Like me, I've never used flea shampoos, flea collars. What else do you have for fleas? Any of that stuff. I don't use this stuff. I just feed garlic, and I've never used them. I've never had issues with fleas. I've had neighbors who have had issues with fleas. Also, watering your grass and your area a lot helps keep down the fleas because they drowned in just one little drop of water. But we get rabbits in our yard. Every now and then a stray cat has the nerve to come through there and take its chances. We get raccoons in our yard. We get all that. So I make sure that garlic is a part of the dog system. So that way they always have something in them to repel fleas. Let's see here. Beth said, thanks for clearing that up about the garlic. No problem. And look into it. I always advise people, even though I'm saying something, still look into it. Still look into it. Still ask questions, get it from multiple sources. Let's see here. Okay, French. She was asking about Hassani's name, Valet. RCB Nolan said dogs domesticated themselves, easier for them to feed from us than find food themselves. Very true. But then we domesticated them because you figure for 25,000 years, we know we've been actually breeding dogs. So when I say domesticate, I'm more looking at we actually are intentionally feeding them, using them for hunting, protection, which were their original purposes, and then actually getting our hands on them to the point where we can breed. So we know we've been trading breeds of dogs for at least 25,000 years. Let's see. Betsy said, and if you're lucky, you get a meat head and it eats acorns. Started the probiotic back up. Lucky you get a meat head that eats acorn. Oh, you get a meat head that eats. I didn't know anything about acorns. I've never heard that. So that's a new one for me. Zachariah says, nice, didn't miss it all. Thanks for joining in, man. Let's see. Anna Vaughn said private stock bullies now. All right, let's get back to the topic. Okay. Next topic. Tony Moss said, do a black hole theory breeding with 2 dogs pedigrees. I didn't have enough time to actually find a way to do like a chart to make it more explainable. Here's what I would say with the black hole theory. The main thing to understand is that with our dogs, you have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. Females only give off X chromosomes. Males give off X and Y chromosomes. 2 X's make a female, an X and a Y makes a male. The Y chromosome has less genetic information on it than the X chromosome. So you breed your dogs, you've got your male, your female. They produce a litter. They both get she gives 50% genetic information to the litter. Floyd, go lay down. Go lay down. She gives 50% genetic information to the litter. The male gives 50% genetic information to the litter. The female is giving 50% of her genetic information. The male is giving 50% genetic information. Part of it is his genes that came from his mom and dad. The other part of it is taken up by making the male a male. So he's not giving as much of his genetic information as the female is. Because in order to make it a male, one, he has to get testicles when he's born. And then later in life, he has to get more testosterone, bigger head, thicker bone, muscle, all those things that make a male dog a male. That takes up a lot of the male genetic information that is passed from the father. So when you're looking at the black hole theory of breeding, let's say, where would a black hole be? If you take, and then when you're thinking about the black hole theory of breeding, you have to go from, you don't go from left to right, you go from right to left. Look at the dogs that started and then make your way to the dog in front of you. So for instance, where would a black hole fall? Let's say you find out that your male pup's grandfather is the dog, the dream dog that you always wanted. Excuse me. Well, if that male pup's grandfather is on the dad's side, your pup is a black hole. He probably will not have those genetics due to the fact that that stud that you wanted in your pedigree produced a male. That male got less of his genetics than it did his mom's genetics. And then that male produced the male that you have. So that means he got even less of that grandfather's genetics, that grandsire's genetics, than his dad did. That's where your black holes are created. So if you've got a male that you want in your pedigree, you want him to have produced a female that produced your male, which is why in the game dog world, the working dog world, race dog world, horse racing world, you name it, anything with competition, you have a great male, you have the fastest racehorse in the world, Secretariat. Matter of fact, the black hole theory of breeding came from Secretariat. You have the fastest horse in the world, the fastest dog in the world, the best hunting dog in the world, whatever it is, you have the best in the world, it's a male. You want to duplicate. It tends to be a male because males tend to go harder than females. You want to duplicate it. So what most people make the mistake of doing is they say, I want a son from him. No. What you want is the female that most resembles that male. So when he breeds, you look at the offspring, the female that most resembles him, you want that female. And then you want to take her back to him or back to a male from him, or you want to take her to a male that is equivalent, has the same traits as him, so that you get his traits that you wanted from him originally. So most great males, when it comes to any type of performance exhibitions, it's their grandsons that duplicate what they've done, not their sons. It's always their grandsons or their daughters that duplicate their success. Rarely is it their sons. On the flip side of that, you have the randomness of genetics. And on the flip side of that, you got line breeding and you got inbreeding. If a dog is inbred, then you have a higher chance of him making himself into, of that black hole theory, that black hole not being there, because even though that male is only passing a small amount of his genetic information into other males, at least that small amount comes through line breeding and inbreeding. It is more potent, it's refined. So the blood is refined. So that's how you kind of have to look at that. If you're dealing with scatterbred dogs, you do not want the grandfather of the dog you like to be on the dad's side. You want him to be on the mom's side. That's the best way I can explain the black hole theory of breeding. We're going to go through some more comments, and then we will get back to the last topic, which is new breeders. When should you start? Older breeders, when should you start over? Floyd, go lay down. I see you, bro. Go lay down. Be patient. Beth said, what flavor kibble do you feed? I want to say it's beef. Sometimes I switch it to chicken, but it's usually beef. I want to say it's beef. Dom Seguenza said, and I feed pedigree, regular yellowback pedigree. I switch to Purina 1 if I know if we're getting ready to go hunting. There's something I'm getting ready to do with the dogs. If I notice they get sick, some type of issue, then I'll switch to Purina 1. I don't do all the high protein diets. I think that's too much protein, especially for these large breed dogs. To me, protein should be right between 18 23%. Anything over that needs to be for working dogs. Not for that dog that you just want to have thick bone is laying around your house. That's dependent on genetics. Dom said, how about Purina dog chow? Anyone successful with that? just dry, straight up, no meat or anything. Purina dog chow is another good one. It's good. Purina, I use Purina 1 when I go from pedigree to Purina 1. When I use Purina, I have used Purina dog chow before. It's good. And these rarely have issues that we have to go ahead and there's recalls and stuff like that. That's why I also stick with the major grocery store brand dog foods, and then I just add to it. What I would suggest, if you're not going to add anything to it, at least let it soak in water, add a little black pepper, just a pinch to help with the enzymes for digestion, add a little water to make it a little more digestible and less bloat in the dog's stomach. Kings of Bully Excellence said, I know you cannot breed Merle to Merle, but how would you go about line breeding or inbreeding a Merle dog into a program to lock in trait, structure, signature, look, and color into your program? That is the problem with Merles, and that is why most working breeds avoid Merles, because you don't want to all of a sudden you have a great Merle dog that performs well at high percentages, and then you've got all of a sudden you come up with and it's a male. Then all of a sudden you have this other great Merle dog. She's a female and she works great at high, and she's got high percentages of success. But you can't breed them together because they're both Merle, unless they're Aussies or Catahoulas. I know Alapajas will do it, but they're very wary of how they go about it. When it comes Merle to Merle with Bullies, we definitely have to be careful of it. My opinion is you probably can breed Merle to Merle as long as the Merle pattern is not near the head, eyes, and ears. If the Merle pattern is on the coat of both dogs, then you can probably breed Merle to Merle without any issues. That's just me saying that. Don't take it as religion, because I'm not going to try what I just said. But based off what I know from breeding Alapajas, they will breed Merle to Merle as long as it's not near the head, eyes, ears, nose. If they see one, the Alapaja breeders I know, if they get one blue eye, then they know not to breed Merle to Merle again. They'll breed that dog to a non-Merle dog. If they get two blue eyes, then they definitely aren't doing it. Some will push until they get two blue eyes. Also, for instance, we have a Merle female that we haven't bred yet. She's off of Woodland, who's one of the most popular Merles in the game right now. Thick bones. She's got everything that we want, and she's also driven. We just kind of have to figure out how we're going to bring her into the program. One thing that we do know is that when we finally do a breeding, we will test those pups that don't show Merle. We'll have them tested, because if the pups that don't show Merle also don't have the Merle gene, then we can use those in our program. So that's what I would say. If you've got traits that the Merle has, you do your breeding, take the pups that don't show Merle. The pups that do show Merle, go ahead and sell those for $1 million. The pups that don't show Merle, have them tested, because some of them will still have the Merle gene, so you don't want to breed Merle to Merle. Sell those for $500,000. And then some of those will not have the Merle gene, but have that structure that you want, and you can introduce those and you can breed those into your program. So definitely be aware of that. Also, make sure the dog that you are going to breed it to, even though it shouldn't have any Merle in it, just in case, get it tested to make sure that Merle gene's not in there also, and that other dog. Let's see. Anavon said, what food best helps with controlling excessive shedding? A lot of them market themselves on that, so I would assume you can use that. Me personally, I say increase the oils in the dog. Of course, brush a lot, but increase the oils in the dog. A lot of times the shedding comes because the dog is a lot of water, a lot of oils. The dog is not obtaining enough nutrients and moisture from its food. So the hair tends to die off and shed more than what it should. If you utilize some of the things I've said earlier, the garlic for helping digesting the nutrients and moving that nutrients through the blood, fish oil, sardines, what else? All types of oils will help with excessive shedding. Coconut oil, olive oil. Now, don't do coconut oil and olive oil at the same time. But those will all help you with shedding. And then, like I said, there are a lot of dog foods out there now that are designed strictly for that. One of the best things, though, go to your local wherever you get your local dog food and look at what they say they do, and then look at the ingredients they use. And then a lot of times you can just go ahead and do that at home, where it's more natural. RCB Nation said my female loves raw meats of all flavors. They should. Same here though. Ours do too. I don't do raw chicken though. King said otherwise. Does that mean you must outcross each time you breed Merle? Yes, that is what you should be doing until one of these bully breeders experiments with what I just said. You should possibly be able to do. But if you watch my lives, don't do it because I'm not going to do it. So yeah, when you have Merle pups, you always want to outcross them to, well, when you have Merle pups, you always want to breed them to non-Merles just to be safe. Betsy said, I would make sure the Merle was correct in all aspects. Yes, definitely. And I think that's what he was speaking on. Damn, where'd it go? All right. With it being Merle as the only flaw. Exactly. Montgomery said quercetin is a flavonoid that has antioxidants and antihistamine and anti-inflammatory properties. Basically, nature's Benadryl. There you. Oh, okay. All right. I got to look into that then because I heard of it, but hold on. Now I got to find my pen. I'm going to look into that then because turmeric is a natural inflammatory that does the same thing. But like I was explaining earlier, if your dog's got a weak stomach, sometimes turmeric can make that worse because it's got kind of it's a spice. So thanks for contributing that. I'm gonna definitely look into that. All right. Let's see. All right, let's get into the next topic. Next topic: new breeders. When should you start? Older breeders. When should you start over? Some people are going to be offended by this, so I'm glad the numbers have dropped. But one of the biggest problems in the American bully community is that we have so many people considered mentors, so-called OGs, experienced American bully breeders, and yet they don't know dogs, and their main attraction is to get you on and buying from their yard. Some of you have hit me up for consultations. And when I do, and just so people know, I do consultations, $50 an hour, but I rarely charge another $50 after that. Actually, I never charge another $50. So really it's $50 a call is what I would break it down to. And I deal with, we can do phone consultations on training, breeding, you name it, diet, nutrition. We'll discuss it. We'll talk about it and get you on the right track. You know, when it comes some protection training, I don't get into details about that over the phone because I don't want people making mistakes. But we can get into some things as far as, you know, the proper way to socialize to give you a boost in that direction. Conditioning, I also do that through phone consultations. But pretty much if I don't do it, then I'll tell you when you ask me. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there mentoring people on these dogs. And my point in saying that with the phone consultation was when I talk to people about breeding, one of the first things I ask them is, what are you breeding for? What is your purpose? If they say it's for the show ring, they want to breed American bullies, band dogs, whatever it is. They're breeding it for the show ring. And I also do training, both with behavior and obedience phone consultations. But back to the topic. When people call me about breeding and about consultations, and it's about breeding, and first thing I do is ask them what their purpose in breeding is. What direction are they headed? If it's the show ring, if it's just a family protection, whatever their direction is, the advice I give them is based on that. I have never given anybody advice that has to do with breeding our dogs to our dogs. King is huge. If you call me about breeding the King, I will talk to you about breeding with King. If you call me about breeding and making large dogs and huge dogs, even though King is right there, I'm not going to bring up King. I'm going to tell you, look for dogs that fit, you know, this description, and this is how you want to go about it. Problem with a lot of the breeders in the bully community is if you pay attention to people who go live, a lot of times the only reason they go live and educate the community is when they have a litter on the ground. As you see, I don't even talk about my litters in these lives. And there are other people that are the same way. Look for somebody that was willing to mentor you and not sell you something. With a lot of these older breeders, if you pay attention, they have the same flaws as newer breeders: weak pasterns, easty, westy, high rears, lack of angulation. They've got the bone down pat, they got the big head down pat, but the rest of the dog is not there because they're breeding backwards. You are supposed to breed out species flaws, then you focus on breed flaws, and then you focus on show ring breed flaws, the written standard. What this breed has done is they have ignored species flaws and they focus straight on the show ring, and what will impress or become a wow factor to those who see it. So therefore, our show rings are riddled with dogs with high rears, sway back, easty, westy, weak pasterns, blah, blah, blah. Because these things were never fixed. People just want that champion title so they can start charging more money. When it comes to older breeders, how do you know as an older breeder when it's time for you to start over? And how do you know as a newer breeder when you're approaching an older breeder when it's time for them to start over and for you not to get a dog from them? It takes 5 to 10 generations of line breeding and inbreeding to create a breed. It takes 5 to 10 generations of line breeding and inbreeding to create a bloodline within a breed. With that being said, if you have a breeder who's had 5 to 10 litters and they still have high rears, weak pasterns, easty westy, all the flaws that we're trying to get rid of. They got the bone, they got the head, they got that, but they still have all these flaws. It's time for them to start over. If their dogs are scatterbred, meaning they've just been breeding for traits or haven't been paying attention to bloods and traits, and they decide they still have a chance by taking the best male and the best female in their yard and breeding them to the best female and best female from other yards. But if they have line breeding and inbreeding in their yard and they still have flaws, especially if they've done inbreeding, this lets you know you have an older breeder who does not know what the hell they are doing, because they never should have done an inbreeding and they shouldn't have done a bunch of line breedings and have flaws. You can breed scatterbred dogs to fix flaws. You can do some line breeding to fix some flaws. You cannot do inbreeding to fix flaws, and you should never do inbreeding when you still have major flaws of this breed. So older breeders, when is it time for you to scrap everything you've got and start over? When you've done an inbreeding and you still have major flaws, when you still have multiple flaws in your yard, or any of the major flaws in the bully breed. Older breeders, when is it time for you to start over? When you are trying to do line breedings and you still have the same issues in your yard the brand new breeders have in their yards. That is when it is time for older breeders to start over. It means your blood is not good. It means you need to also stop. Pay attention to an older breeder that will sell you dogs from their yard while they're also buying dogs from other yards. You had 10 litters. You're buying dogs from other yards for what? But you're going to sell me a dog from your yard. Think about that. Think about what that says about that breeder. A lot of new breeders don't realize some of the best people for you to get dogs from are new breeders who've educated themselves and been patient on the dogs that they are buying. Because a lot of these older breeders you got to remember, the bully community used we're just going to make that part of the live announcement like clockwork. At an hour and 20 minutes, it kicks me out. My bad, y'all. So, what was I saying? Watch out for these things when it comes to older breeders. If you got somebody that's been breeding, you know, they've had 5 to 10 litters. Like I said, it takes 5 to 10 litters of line breeding and inbreeding to create a breed. 5 to 10 litters of line breeding and inbreeding to create a bloodline within a breed. So even if you're not trying to create a breed, and you're not trying to create a bloodline within the breed that you're breeding, why have you had 5 to 10 litters and you are still buying dogs and still selling dogs to me or whoever? Makes no sense. The best older breeders to go to are those older breeders that have the bone, they have the head, they've got the girth that we're looking, the mass that we're looking for. And something I heard Taurine say the other day, which is a good point. Girth has nothing to do with the big stomach. It's about chest, bone, muscle, hips. Okay. You want your dog to start going in on the stomach and then back out again on the hips. Okay. But if a breeder has these things plus lacks flaws, that's who you want to be getting your dogs from. Now, I am an experienced breeder. My cousin is an experienced breeder. So there were flaws that we got from pups that we picked that we said, oh, okay, we need to fix that, but we know how to go about fixing it. If this is new for you, try to buy the perfect dogs right off the bat. Another phone consultation I do is which dogs you should be purchasing. You know, and I had other breeders hit me up thanking me because I referred somebody to them. But be picky. If you get a dog and you know you're expecting it to have a certain flaw, then you know the next dog you get, if you get a female, she's got weak pasterns. The next female you get should not have weak pasterns. The male you get should not have weak pasterns. You want to get away from that. Doesn't mean you're not going to use that female with weak pasterns. It just means you're going to be getting away from it by breeding her to that male, taking those male pups to that other female. Then you can start line breeding and inbreeding, leaving her out of the line breeding. That's the problem with a lot of these older so-called OGs in this bully game, is they'll go back to that female because everybody loved her head. They loved it because they were looking at pictures on Facebook, not because they were looking at the actual dog itself. Or they loved it because they saw the dog itself and they didn't know any better. Or they loved it because you got a grand champion that in the real dog world would have never been a grand champion because it's got a high rear or a weak head or it's tucking its tail as it walks around the ring. All these things are bad things. So you as a new breeder, or you, my bad, we're on the old breeder part. When is it time for an old breeder to start over? One, when you have 5 to 10 litters and you're still buying dogs. It's time for you to buy dogs, but no longer use the dogs in your yard. Start over. When you've had 5 to 10 litters and you've done line breeding and inbreeding and or inbreeding, and you got with dogs that have flaws and they're creating dogs in your yard that have flaws, it's time to start over. When is it time for older breeders to start over? When you have been breeding 5 to 10, have had 5 to 10 litters, and you've got dogs that die early, and you've got offspring from those dogs that died early. It's time to start over. Don't go selling those dogs to other people. And don't come to Facebook claiming that you're bettering the breed or that you've offered something to the breed or you're some figure in the breed. You might be a figure. You might be a personality. You might be a known kennel. But don't talk about you bettering the breed when you're still buying dogs and selling the dogs that you produce, still breeding the dogs you produced and selling them to people. Because why are you buying dogs and you have 5 to 10 litters? New breeders, when is it time to start? When you've got the facility, you got the help you need or you don't need help, whatever it is. And you've sat back and you've watched these dogs and you realize and you understand the expectation of these dogs based off of the breed standard. This is a dog that was, this is a breed that was heavily created around the breed standard. And you've decided what your purpose of temperament is. And then you've decided the look, the ability that you want your dogs to have. And then you've decided the look that you want for your dogs. That is when it's time for you to start breeding. The look may change. The ability, you really got to question yourself if your ability should change and why. The temperament should never change. So here's my thing. You want to get into American Bullies. You've read the breed standard. And the first part of the breed standard is what? The temperament. It should be the first and focal part of your breedings. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a breed that has a lot of flaws and issues. You want to pick dogs by questioning breeders on the temperament of their dogs, what they do with their dogs, the energy level of their dogs. Get those answers first from breeders. Once you've gotten those answers from breeders of dogs that you're interested in, because you've only seen Facebook pics or whatever, get rid of all the breeders who didn't give you the answers you wanted. Now take the breeders that gave you the answers that you wanted for the temperament that you're looking for. Now call all those breeders back and ask them, what are your dogs able to do? Some breeders, most breeders in the bully community are not going to have any idea what you mean. So you're going to have to word it for them. Are your dogs protective? Yes, they're protective. Why do you say that? Because they're always around my kids. That don't mean they're protective. They bark when my doorbell rings. That don't mean they're protective. But if that's all you're looking for is an alarm, then that's cool. But ask these questions. Are your dogs known for jumping the fence? Yes. How high is the fence? 2 feet high. Okay, that doesn't count. Are you able to take your dog to dog parks? Are you able to take your dog to PetSmart? How does the dog operate? These are all abilities. How does the dog operate at the vet? Do you have to muzzle your dog in situations? These are all let you know what the dog is able to do in various scenarios. If you're looking for protection, then you're going to want to turn to somebody who is actually pushing their dogs in that direction. Some people actually do protective and bite work, and they've got trophies and ribbons and videos and trainers and all that stuff to show you. Some people are experienced breeding and dealing with bite work and protection training, so they're not going to have all of that for you. But what you need to be able to do is have a conversation with them. And when they explain the details of what they're looking for in the temperament and the drives and the thresholds of those drives of the dogs that they breed, they should be able to explain it to you in a believable manner. The next thing you're looking at, again, is ability. What's the dog able to do? And then the last thing you're focused on is the structure and looks of the structure of the dog. Talk to those breeders as a new breeder. When you've narrowed down the temperament, you've narrowed down the ability. Now you want to come back. Hey, I know I called you twice before, but I'm really interested in your dogs. I'm narrowing it down to you and a couple other breeders. How's the structure on your dog? Can I see video? Can I see pictures, side stacks of the dog? They should be able to provide that to you with no hesitation. Video, pictures, things like that. When they provided that to you, now you know, okay. And I'm talking about the mother and father. Now you're dealing with somebody that you want to get dogs from. But guess what you also have as a new breeder? Those other people that you question, that you narrowed down. So now you can start bringing different dogs into the screen doors open. I thought I saw something flying in here. Hold on real quick, y'all. Let me close this door. But now you've got people in your phone book that you had thorough conversations with about what types of breeding. So now you can turn to those people for your next set of dogs because you've questioned them. You still want to question them over again. But that's the best way to go. Once you've had those answers as a new breeder, you got your facilities, allergies, another thing. Ask these breeders about allergies. Do they have allergies? Allergies that go away at 1 to 2 years, you can breed out by breeding the dogs that don't have allergy issues. Allergy issues that last after 2 years, you got to question whether you want that dog, okay? The dog, they say the dog doesn't have allergies. Okay, what do you feed it? I just feed raw. Have you tried feeding kibble? No, I strictly feed raw. Well, now we don't know if the dog's got allergy issues or not, unless it's allergic to chicken. If a dog's allergic to any type of meat, you got to really think about whether you want that dog and whether that dog should be bred, because they're dogs, they're predators. Um, so when it comes, my homies keep texting, and I see what they're texting about. So as a new breeder, so now you've gotten to 3, 5 breeders that you like the answers they gave you. Now it's time to get your pups now. You know what I mean? Get your yard set up, your kennel set up, make sure the house is aware. Also remember, as a new breeder, you want to make sure. A lot of breeders make the mistake of focusing on the dogs that they bring in, that they purchase for their yard. You also got to remember you need room for the dogs that you produce so that you can better your yard. So as a new breeder, you want to make sure that you have that in mind, or that you have friends, family that you're close with and that you trust that can take some dogs, whether it's dogs you produce or whether it's dogs you're going to purchase. That way you can still use those dogs in your breeding program. So you want to have the yard or the friends and family that also have yards and are also good and experienced with dogs and that you can trust. If you give them a female, you're going to more than likely want to keep your females. But if you got somebody that's experienced, as friend or family, and you could trust them, then bam, these are all people you add to your repertoire. And then at that point, you are ready to get out there or add to your opportunities. Then at that point, you're ready to get out there and you're ready to start purchasing your pups and you are ready to start breeding. Make sure again that you understand the breed, not only the breed standard, but when you jump on Facebook, what are the flaws and issues that you see rampant in the breed? What are the things you hear people complaining about? What are the breeders? Who are the old school breeders that are always trashing the new school breeders and talking trash? But then you look at their yard and they've got high rears, sway backs, weak pasterns, all these other issues. You want to avoid those people who are breeders whose dogs have died at early ages. You want to avoid these issues, especially if these dogs are in their pedigrees and they've done some line breeding. Now, let's say a dog dies at 6, 7 years old and you get a pup off of it. And all of a sudden you find out the dog died at an early age. You then want to make sure you breed that dog to a clean female. Don't go for the bulldog traits and the bully. Don't go for the bully world stuff. You at that point need to find a classic female or a classic male, whatever it is. Whatever, if you got a male or female, you're going to want to take it to a cleaner version of the American bully, due to the fact that most of the traits that come up from in the American bully world come from the bulldogs bred into them. So you want to get to dogs that have less of those traits. You also have the advantage of genetic health testing. So if you get a pup, make sure you're going and you find out, you get the pup, it's 6 months old, you find out its daddy or its mama died, and the breeder's not being honest about what happened or providing proof of what happened, and you should question. The dog dies early, you should hit the breeder up that you got the pup from and you find out about it and be like, hey, I heard so-and-so died, my condolences, but what was the issue? He got hit by a car. Okay, can you get a vet to back that up? Or he got bit by a rattlesnake. Okay, can you get a vet to back that up? You want to question them because you've got this pup. And if it died from issues that come with bully traits, then you don't want to breed that pup to a dog that's got bully traits. Because even if that dog doesn't have those issues, you still enable those issues to manifest themselves. This is just basics of breeding, old school knowledge. It's not always about genetics. You can have, and this is what I say, because we're breeding dogs that we want to have shorter and shorter legs, more and more compact. We're taking shortcuts to get there. There's no acknowledgement of the organs inside the dog. You got this big dog coming from big dogs, and now you're trying to compact it. Yeah, the legs might have shrunk, but who's to say the heart did? Who's to say the lungs did? Who's to say the intestines did? We don't know all these things. You see what I'm saying? So when we're breeding these dogs to get more and more compact and shorter legs, and that's why you guys hear me talk against a lot of that. we have to also acknowledge that that means you can also do a genetic health test. The dog passes with flying colors, but because of the way it's bred and its predisposition to its structure and its predisposition to its written standard, or your preference or someone's preference of that written standard, it can still die early and have no genetic issues other than the way the dog is built. So that is why I say, if you hear about a dog dying early, avoid those pups, unless you find out it was something like a rattlesnake, a car, or something like that. If you already have a pup and one of the parents of that pup dies early, track down the other parent, find out how it's doing. If it's from that yard through a line breeding, inbreeding, that's a scary situation. And you want to find out, go get the dog health tested so you know what's going on there. And when you do a breeding, you know you're going to want to breed it to a cleaner female or a cleaner male. Less bone, less mass, less big head. All those things we're looking for. You want to breed strictly for structure at that point. Strictly for structure. Throw the mass and all that stuff out the window. Take the pup that you get from that and then gradually make your way back up, leaving the dog that you had alone out of it. And that's the way you want to go about, dealing with these older breeders. Also, newer breeders, when you're involved in the community, be willing to listen. I may have said something that you think is biblical. Somebody else may be saying something that's different, and they may be 100% correct. I might be wrong. Be willing to listen. Doesn't mean you have to believe what the person's saying, but be willing to listen. A lot of the bully community is like I was saying earlier, the bully community, when I first got in here about 5 years ago, my cousin and I, before we made our purchase, we watched the community for about a year. And it was very cliquish. Show breeders, non-show breeders, certain groups, certain different cliques of show breeders. It's very cliquish. And the XL community is extremely that way. Who's popular, who's not popular, who's popular on Facebook, who's not popular on Facebook, who's popular on Instagram, who's not popular on Instagram, who throws shows, who doesn't throw shows, who hosts shows, who shows up to shows, who's got it's all very cliquish and very kiss ashes. One of the reasons that we kind of took off is we were cool with everybody. My cousin and I, we gave respect to everybody, but we also didn't give a shit about nobody. Especially because we saw how much bullshit was being sold within the community. I am still the same way. It is very hard for somebody to get me to disrespect them on Facebook. I'll argue and debate with you all day. I'll debate with you all day. I'm not doing too much arguing. I can deal with certain levels of ignorance. I can't deal with any level of stupidity. Those are the people I block. If there's a certain level of ignorance, I'll unfriend a person. Any level of stupidity, I'm going to block you. But my point in saying that is you might hear 10, 15 people agree and say the same thing, and they're 100% incorrect about what they're saying because they all typically got it from the same person or the same types of people. So be open-minded. There's a lot of information here on Facebook that comes from various breeders who try to educate the community. But they don't all know what they're talking about. And make sure that you have an open mind. Something one person says might make sense. When somebody else says opposite, have an open mind to it. The next thing that I would say to new breeders is break down your flaws. Look at people's dogs before you purchase and look for flaws so that you can train your mind to spot flaws. Find the dog, your favorite dog that you like. Take as many pictures of it as you can and try to find flaws. Try to find them. And if you can't find any flaws, there's a problem. At that point, you are kennel blind. Because imagine if that dog's yours and now you got emotions attached, not just loyalties and favoritism. Now you've actually got emotions in it. When you're looking at your dogs, when you have that pup, you want to be, especially when they start hitting 6 months old and older, And especially in this breed, you want to be able to notice flaws in temperament, flaws in structure, flaws in ability, its ability to walk, its ability to run, its ability to jump. You want to pay attention to these things. And you should be able to find not only flaws, but you should also be able to find things that you need to improve. You want to be able to find those two things, flaws and improvements in temperament, ability, and structure. As long as you can, so that means 6 things you want to find. As long as you can find those things, you are ready to breed. You are ready to start picking pups, because that means even if you do get the wrong pup because you didn't fly out to visit the stud and you didn't, people say, oh, well, you shouldn't buy a dog unless you fly out to see the pup. It's a pup. A video will suffice. Enough videos and some good pics will suffice. Shouldn't buy a dog unless you flew out to see the mom. Okay, that's cool. But what if the dad comes from a whole nother state? Now, you got the time and money to fly around to go see the dad, plus go see the mom and see the pups. Great. Take advantage of it. And I would definitely say do it. You ain't got the time and money. You're still dealing with a pup. Next thing I would say for new breeders, let that pup grow a little bit, at least 6 months, 6 to 12 months before you purchase your next pup, so that you can see the flaws and start seeing the direction that the dog is growing in and knowing what direction you need to go when you purchase your next. Damn, I'm mad I left that screen door open. When you purchase your next pup for your yard. And that's what I would say. That's about it for the topics. Let's go through the comments and see any questions. Okay, so Mr. J was talking to Anna. Danny Lay said, where are the best protection dogs in your opinion, like standards, XLs, band dogs? In the American bully community, I would say your best protection dogs are going to come from the XL. Damn, that was a big mark. The best are going to come from the XL community. And now it's going by my light. So when it comes to your best protection dogs are going to come from the XL community. There are also breeders in the XL community that do protection work with their dogs. Brittany Burns comes to mind. Erica Ross, I think, does protection. I know she does catch work with her dogs and hogs. And there's a few others. Larry Bordenau, I might be pronouncing his name incorrectly, is actually an XL breeder that teaches or that does protection training. He's another person. As far as the standards, I have no idea. I don't know of any standards doing any type of work whatsoever. As far as band dogs, Ashley Robinson has some great band dogs and doing protection. I'm going to tell you, people think of Marlin and they think of the Hulk, and they don't pay attention to the other dogs that he owns and that he works. Marlin has some great dogs that are good for protection. That's Marlin from DDK9. Because, and like I said, people think of Marlin, they think of Hulk, forgetting that Hulk did do bite work, and but they don't realize the other dogs that Marlin has on his yard and the experience he has in protection training and in bite work. He also thinks about that when he's breeding his dogs, even if that dog's not going to be doing protection work or any type of bite work. So he's another person. Other than that, I'm not too sure in the community who really has them. Like I said, I don't sell myself during our lives, but I will say that we have 2 pups right now that are doing great with the protection training that they've been given. And both of them are as outside of them, all of our pups have pretty much shown promising signs. We had 11 pups, 10 of them survived. And they've all shown great signs of, it has to be something that's intentionally bred for, with the understanding that we have a breed that should be able to go to Starbucks and chill. That's the type of breeders that you got to look for in the bully community. And those breeders should be able to talk to you about the different drives that make up their dogs and the thresholds that make up their dogs in order for them to tell you, yeah, my dog's protective. Some of these people say their dog's protective and they're just human aggressive. That's not protective. So those things have to be thought of when it comes, especially in this bully community, because it's a lot of scammers. Zola said, yes, hit that like button, you guys. 58 of you guys in here. Hit that like button on Facebook, on YouTube, wherever you happen to be. Definitely hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you are on Facebook, join the YouTube so that we can see your comments and also see who you are. Let's see. Casper said, I know of a breeder who got his dog stolen during a stud service. Wow. Would you recommend having the client pay in full before the stud service happens? How did he get did he let the person take his dog to do the stud? That's just crazy. I would think that he's there. I'm assuming he's the owner of the stud. Oh, okay. He's probably the owner of the female. Took it to the stud. I would say in this bully community, I would never leave my dog with anyone. Ever. Whatsoever. I don't care if they paid in full, nothing like that. I would never leave my dog with anyone. You want to do a stud service? I want to get a stud service from you. Okay, fly your dog out here, bring your dog out here. I'll keep it for a couple of days and do the breedings. No, if I'm not spending the night, then I wouldn't do it. Pass and move on to the next person. I would never ever let anybody in this bully community have my dog for any amount of time without me being there. There's only one person that can have my dogs, and that's my cousin, and that's it. And as you guys have seen, there's times where I go pick up dogs from him, and they stay with me for a period, and there's times where our dogs might go his direction. We meet each other halfway because he's in Oakland, I'm here in LA, and then we switch dogs off and do what we got to do. But other than that, there should be no one that you're allowing to keep or hold your dog just for stud service unless you truly, truly know that person. If that's just their process, I would move to somebody else that's got another process. Let's see. Spirit said, I heard that. No, I don't. I'm just quicker with my answers. Let's see. Love you too, Betsy. Let's see who else we got. Rose said, do you know where there are any weight pull shows in Cali? I do know. Hold on. I just heard of one recently, but it passed. So I don't hear a lot about weight pull shows like I used to when I was younger. They are still there. I know there are a couple, I want to say TBKC with Terrell. I want to say they're thinking about having different type of events like that, but I don't know specifically of any. I have to say that. But hit me up and we could definitely look into some because there should be easy to find. Kings of Bully Excellence, are there any good books you recommend for dog breeding? But I don't know of any. I haven't read a book on dog breeding in years. Trying to think. Most of the books that I've read regarding dogs had to do with breeds or doing various types of training, like this big ass book that I'm thinking about giving up on. But most as far as dog breeding, I don't know, and I'm sure there's a million out there because there's a million people writing books nowadays. But no, I can't. You know what? This is what I will say. If you go to Giant XL American Bully Breed Group, you go to the guide section. There's one of those sections in there is strictly on breeding. It's called Breeders and Breeding, or it's called Breeding and Breeders. But that section has a lot of information. And that goes to all you guys. Just about any subject you could think of when it comes to dogs. Go to Giant XL American Bully Breed Group on Facebook. Join the group. There's a guide section there. And in that guide section is a wealth. It's like a library of information on training, conditioning, exercising, breeding, whelping puppies, getting females ready for pregnancy, nutrition. It's all in there. So check out that section. There's a lot of information in there for you to go through. And it's all just in that one area. You can also click on it as you go through it, and then it lets you know how far you've gotten in your progression of making your way through the guide section. So I advise a lot of people to use that section because there's a wealth of information in there. Tony Moss, I'm gonna send you the for what? I didn't do nothing. Me and Peter are friends, somewhat, a little bit, not at all. Anna Vaughn said, Mr. J feeding and Victor High Pro plus teal bag. I've heard a lot about the teal bag, and it's funny with those with Victor, how everybody describes the color of the bag. I've heard a lot about the teal bag. I know a lot of people that like Victor High Pro Plus. I would advise, if you are not working your dog a lot and if your dog's under a year and a half to 2 years old, and you're not really doing a lot of working, exercising that dog on a daily basis, plus conditioning that dog 1 to 2 days a week. When I say conditioning, I mean you're pushing that dog until the point that it actually starts to drool. I would avoid the high-end dog foods because you don't want the high-end, high-protein dog foods. You don't want too much protein with in your dogs when they're growing. But I have heard a lot of good things about that bag. Let's see. Dion said we use Victor as well. Casper said, is there a book where I could read more about the black hole theory? I don't know of a book. And it is also hard to find online. Although it is broken down somewhat along with a graph in the guide section of the Giant XL American Bully Breed Group. I want to say that is also under the breeders section. So you will find information there on it. And from there, you might be able to find other resources online. You might be able to go into some horse groups or look into some horse books on the black hole theory of breeding, or even greyhound race dog books. You might be able to find some information there in there. I don't believe that there's a book actually dedicated to it though, that I know of. Cody, the XL Bully, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Definitely hit me up anytime, man. Let's see. Dion was responding to Casper. Somebody from Facebook said Waffle House passes his traits that allow his offsprings to possess grand champion quality dogs. I don't know how Waffle House was created, but if he was line bred and inbred, then that is very possibly true, but you still got to make sure you breed him to the correct females. You also got to remember we're breeding bullies, and a lot of these females lack secondary sex characteristics. So when you breed Waffle House to a she-male, as long as she's structurally correct and he's structurally correct, then you're going to have a good chance of breeding a grand champion dog. The question is, can I breed Waffle House to a dog that is scatterbred and may not have his good traits? Will he still produce those traits? That's when you have a producer, a great producer. But from what I've seen of Waffle House, who is also the father of Shots Fired, he's produced some great dogs. I'm a fan. I'll say that. Let's see. Casper said, I seen Dr. Dion Peoples. I don't have a Facebook. Let's see. Okay, so Casper, you don't have a Facebook. Man, I don't know what to tell you then, dude. I don't know of any books on that subject. And yeah, so I don't know. If you don't have a Facebook, I don't know what to tell you as far as that. I was gonna say start adding stuff to the topics. I was gonna say hit me up. Do you have Instagram? Come on, Casper. You younger than me, so you gotta be on top of these things. Let's see. Spirit was talking to Mr. J. Bully Brad Kennel said, "Why can't breed Merle to Merle bully, but can other breeds?" Okay, so Merle is a gene that modifies the genetics in a dog that causes issues. And one of those issues is the Merle pattern that you see. And a fly got in here too. One of those issues is the Merle pattern that you see that is so loved by the bully community. That Merle pattern is natural and the Merle gene is natural in your wild dogs of Africa. Those dogs possess a gene that modifies the Merle gene, which is a modifier, so that the dogs get the Merle gene. I mean, they get the Merle color, but they don't get the other issues that come with it. The Catahoula is very much the same thing. The Alapaha, there's the Aussie is the same thing, the herding dog. The Alapaha, I don't believe has that modifier, but when it comes to breeding dogs for purpose, you can get away with a lot of things that you can't get away with when you're breeding dogs for looks and for show, which is why the show community has 500 or 400 different diseases rampant in show breeds, because they're no longer being bred for performance. When dogs are bred for work and performance, there is something that goes on that eliminates these issues. So, of course, you have the culling process, but I think there's something that goes beyond that just allows these dogs to be more stable so that you can get away with things that you can't necessarily get away with when you're breeding dogs for looks, wow factor, pets, and show. So, with the Alapaha, what they tend to do, like I was saying earlier, is they watch how many eyes are blue, different things like that. But what the Merle gene does is it causes a lack of pigmentation. A lack of melanin. Melanin is what is needed for eye and ear development in early stages of a dog. I'm not too sure if it does anything with scent. For the nose, but melanin and pigmentation is used in eye development and ear development in the early ages of a dog. So the Merle gene reduces pigmentation. If that pigmentation is reduced in the eye or ear area, you will get a blue eye, or you will get sight issues, or you will get hearing issues, which is why white dogs have often had issues with eyes and ears, and why they always used to say don't breed white dog to white dog, but now we know how to go about doing that, which is paying attention to the eyes, the ears. So that is the Merle gene, and that is why, for instance, albinos typically have sight and hearing issues. So one, with the bully community, this is a community that rushes to do whatever's popular, so breeding Merle to Merle is not something the bully community is a good community for, because as soon as somebody does it, they're going to promote it, and the next you know, everybody's doing it. This just isn't that community. As far as other communities, what they typically do is if they have Merle dogs, they make sure that one of them does not have Merle around the head. They make sure that the dogs do not have the Merle pattern around the head, around the ears and eyes. If the dog has it on the head, then they'll breed to another dog that doesn't have it on the head. If the dog has it around the ears and eyes, they'll breed to another dog that usually is not going to be Merle at all, because that's what Merle typically does. Another thing about Merle, which we will learn later when it comes to the bully community, is that it is a gene that is constantly changing and adapting every 2 to 3 years. We don't know, maybe 5 years. We don't know when it comes to Merle what a 10-year-old Merle dog have issues that have never been present in the community, or does a 10-year-old dog that is Merle is it now more susceptible to issues that were already existing in the community? This is going to be something that we have to learn, and we'll learn in time, because it is a gene that is constantly adapting, and it doesn't adapt for the better, it adapts for the worse. Now, it might be adapting and not doing anything other than just the Merle pattern and the possibility of deafness and blindness if it's around the eyes or bred Merle to Merle. We'll find out later if there's something else that it adapts to and makes worse. Anna said, what fruits are good for them dogs? I stick with blueberries and strawberries. I stick with that. Other fruits that are good, grapes are not good. I like apples. Make sure they do not get the core. Those are the main ones that I stick with. Apples are good for the teeth, the breath. They're also good for the system. But my main fruits are blueberries and strawberries. They have a lot of antioxidants, and they're just good for the digestive system of the dog, the coat, the immune system, etc. So those are the main two that I use. And then there's others. I mean, pineapple, that is good for them. I know people who give watermelon. There's a lot of them that are good. You just want to stay away from apple cores. Though people do give pineapple and tend to be good, there are also people that say avoid lemon. You want to avoid lemon. But there's a lot of them. It's definitely something, to look into. That's another thing that is also in the Giant American Bully Group Guide section. Let's see. Spirit said, as far as I know, there's a test to code the Merle. They go by TGAT. I don't get into like the color testing, so I don't know anything about that. I know there should be a test. I would assume regular health testing would bring up the Merle gene. I would assume. I'm not for sure, but you should be able to do testing to see the Merle gene. Tony said, if it has a short tail Merle gene and long tail Merle gene, you can breed together. See, I don't get all into that. So that's what Tony's saying. I'm not sure. I know Tony. I know Daniel Nunez. I know you guys are. I know Anthony Falzone's another one that you guys are into looking into the Merle. I don't know though. I that's something that I don't know about, and would have to be looked into. Hotep Kennel, and it has to be done. Somebody's got to do it and show us that nothing happened. Hotep said, I heard it's the length of the genetic tail that matters, i.e. MM to M small m. Uppercase MM to uppercase and lowercase small m. I've heard the same thing. I just don't know about it. Let's see. Mr. J said, Merle is a mutation of a pattern, not a color. Color, you can't double up on the gene or else you'll get negative results, blindness, deafness, etc. Let's see. Dion said, no, you went Merle. Am I the last to hold out? You know what, dude? I don't have the same... you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. When I look at the American bully community, I look at there's the dogs and there's the people. The dogs are influenced by who knows what. The people are influenced a lot of times by the hustle of this community. So my thing is, though we have a Merle, we haven't done a breeding yet. I laugh when I see people say, I would never breed Merle, but then they'll breed high rears. I'll never breed Merle, but you're breeding your dogs to be more and more compact and shorter legged. None of that makes sense to me. So I look at Merle as, okay, we got our Merle. She's off of a Merle that we love and have, what's his name? Oscar Tamayo's Woodland. So we'll see. We'll look at her development. We'll see. And then we'll make a decision on when to breed her and whether to breed her at all. But right now, she's driven and great protection dog. She has it naturally. When my cousin was able, to pull that out of her. So right now she's a great pet. We'll decide if she's actually going to go into our breedings. We do kind of want to because she is Merle and she is so boned up and has so much chest. It's ridiculous. But we're holding off, especially while we're in the beginning phases of our program. But I would say I wouldn't hold out just because somebody, your favorite so-called OG is anti-Merle. Because before they got into the bully game, people was anti something they're into. So I would just look at it, in that format. And make a decision from there. I don't see anything breeding when the community is breeding Merles and you can breed Merles, making sure that you're not crossing Merles and that you're breeding them correctly and selling them to pet homes. Why not? Now, when it comes to selling them to breeders, that's when you got to do your homework and your own due diligence to make sure that these breeders know and are informed on what goes into Merles and how Merles should be done. But like our litters mostly go to pet homes. We don't, I think we've had a couple breeders, one that plans on breeding, one that ain't supposed to plan on breeding but plans on breeding, and one that breeds. But other than that, we don't. Most of our dogs go to pet homes, so breeding. Us having Merles is no big deal. Most people that get dogs from us want a family companion that will truly protect their home, but at the same time get along with strangers and their kids. So you got to look at what direction you're going to go. And then you also got ABKC, who now allows Merles to be registered. Rumor is within the next year or two, they're going to be allowing Merles to be showing. So why stick to no Merles if you know how to breed them? I think the worst thing about Merles is selling them to somebody that doesn't know, that plans on breeding it and doesn't know what the hell they're doing. That, so far, is the biggest downfall. It jumped again. And it jumped far. Let's see. Spirit said Razor. Show more of the staffies. That's in Lincoln. I'll post a pic of them. Yeah, Razor's Edge was definitely more staffy. Tony said, I'm not. You know what? I just don't care for the color of a dog. It's just not something that registers to me when I see dogs is color. That it doesn't even click to me. Color. With working dogs, I do think about color. Like Floyd, him being black had me nervous because I like to hunt at night and with just me, a pack of dogs, and a spotlight. A lot of times I wouldn't even bring a gun with me. I'd just leave the house at like 11, 12 o'clock at night and bam, we go run. I'd run the dogs for 2-3 hours. Hunting raccoons, coyotes, and anything else that showed up in the night and got blinded by that bright ass spotlight. But Floyd being black did have me nervous. My bull Lurcher, she was black. That had me nervous. But other than that, I don't really, I just don't think about color when it comes to dogs. Now that I'm in the bully community, I'm learning to. From a genetic standpoint, let's see. Spirit was talking to Hotep. Let's see. Dr. Dion Peebles said with turmeric, you need black pepper so it blends to the neurons. Okay, so that's the details of it. That's what I read before, but wasn't able to repeat. But that makes sense. And that way the dog gets, or even us as people, get the effect of the turmeric that we're looking for. Otherwise, we just pass it through our system. Without that black pepper, it doesn't stick. What does it say? Black pepper, so it binds to the neurons. Without the black pepper, it does not bind to the neurons, or it doesn't bind to the neurons as actively as they should. Let's see here. So it can cross so it can cross into the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so the black pepper helps it do that. Yes, black pepper promotes absorption. Mr. J said, thank you. Who else? Major League Canines. There needs to be a license to breed certain animals and breeds of dogs. Too many bad breeders on the ground. I have mixed feelings with that. here's my thing with licensing. I think licensing should take place when you have over a certain amount of dogs. Like here in California, you can have up to 4 dogs over the age of, I think it's 6 months. It might be 8 months. Anytime you have, and what that's doing is letting you know you're able to breed without a license, but you can't have a whole bunch of dogs. You know, once you have more than that, you have to have a kennel license. The thing when it comes to licensing is we are part of a government that doesn't look into details. So you can have, and now you've got PETA and all these other animal rights people who have a huge influence on our politicians, but don't know anything about the topics that they have an influence over. So all of a sudden they say, so when we get over regulated by the government tends to make bad decisions, and those bad decisions tend to limit the people who don't have the big money. And that's kind of my thing with, some of the best breeders I know have never had a kennel license in their life. And I'm talking pit bulls to Rottweilers, Cane Corsos. They didn't need to. They knew what they were doing. To me, we as breeders need to be regulating breeders. I think more than we need a license, we need kennel clubs to be a go-between between us and the registries. Because registries aren't just focused on bullies. They got pit bulls, German shepherds, all kinds of other things, and they're all doing fine. So what do we have to create another department just to regulate bully breeders? You know what I mean? So I think we as breeders should be regulating breeders. But here's what happens. Breeders are all on Facebook. The Facebook breeder community has an extremely strong voice in the bully community among breeders. And what happens is we get on Facebook and we see breeders doing bad things and we don't say anything. We see breeders, for instance, there was a guy that made a post and he said, I'm looking to breed my Merle who has all white dogs. And breeders were posting all white dogs and Merle dogs, and they just don't care. You can jump on Facebook right now and make a post saying, where are all the breeders who have orange dogs? And 1 million breeders are going to post non-orange dogs because they're all thirsty. And that's the thing. I think in this Facebook world, we as breeders have to regulate breeders. Show judges have to regulate breeders, not the registry. The registry's job is to keep track of our paperwork and sanction shows, put on some shows, promote the breed in a positive light. That's their job. The show judges and the breeders are the ones who should be regulating the community. But instead, people avoid drama. They don't want to deal with drama. And when you think about it, if the drama is not in your yard, who cares about the drama on Facebook? One of the luxuries that we've had with Thrower Bullies is being known for dogs in our neighborhood, our coworkers, our friends, our families. I'm here in Southern California. My cousin's in Northern California. So we don't have to depend on, we still have yet to sell a dog through social media. We don't have to depend on social media for selling dogs. And what happens when people do have to depend on that, they walk this fence of avoiding drama because they don't want to get caught up in the wrong group of people and all of a sudden they've got a litter and nobody wants to buy their litter or everybody's trashing. Some of you on here remember 3 years ago, before Giant XL American Bully Group blew up, people were after me all the time. To this day, some of your major breeders, some of your major show judges can't wait to go live and say something about me, something they didn't like, something, whatever it is. But usually it's because things I say in these lives step on toes kind of heavy. But it's because they built a culture on bullshit. I can't get involved in that. And I can't deal with, at my age, I can't be talking to younger breeders and I'm promoting a bunch of BS. And it's not my fault that the truth conflicts with the community. So to me, if you're going to be a breeder, then you've got to be able to say, this is about my yard. This is about my dogs. I'm going to take my dogs for walks into PetSmart. I'm going to get me some business cards made, and I'm going to promote my dogs in my yard on the street. Get a website. That way you have a home away from all this bully madness. YouTube, a home away from all this bully social media madness. Even Instagram is not that bad, but sometimes can get trashy. Facebook is kind of it's where the dumb shit takes place. But it's also where a lot of the learning and a lot of individual growth in the community takes place as a breeder. So, and especially as new breeders. So I would advise, I think we as breeders and bully judges need to start speaking up about what we see in the community and start making posts about it. Start commenting. When you see something's wrong, there's respectful ways to say, hey, you know, you got a Merle that's nice. You have any ideas on what non-Merle you're going to take it to? You have a Merle that's nice. If you study the genetics to understand how it works with these genetic tails that they were talking about earlier. You've got a dog that's got a high rear. Most people, they post their dog is because they want their dog to be seen. If you're a show judge or a breeder, hit that person up to the side. Hey, I'm a show judge. Hey, I'm a breeder. Just wanted to let you know you got a nice dog. It's got a slightly high rear. I know you're looking at breeding. Make sure you go to a dog that doesn't have a high rear or that's got better angulation. Maybe your high rear is just due to lack of angulation. If we start addressing people that way, we can fix our community and we can fix these breeders without the government having to get involved. As of right now, it is headed in that direction, though, to where somebody who gets voted into office needs to get involved in the bully community because too much of this is just done for look. Is it just me or are underbites becoming more common? I'm seeing underbites and turned up muzzles. Hold on, let me switch. I'm seeing underbites and turned up muzzles is what I'm noticing a lot of. Why isn't that audio sequence is not running? Oh, there it goes. That's what I'm noticing a lot of. People who have dogs and now as far as actual underbites, I haven't seen a lot of that. I haven't noticed a lot of that. But I am starting to see more muzzles that are slightly kind of turned up. Dr. Peebles said, I meant the black pepper is needed with turmeric to biosynthesize or the body doesn't absorb it. Indians knew this centuries ago for their curries. Exactly. And that's why turmeric paste, you want to make sure, and they've always made sure. Africa does the same thing with some of their spices. They add black pepper or other things that are like a pepper seed to kick up the spice, which helps that you get the nutrients or what it is you're looking for from it. But yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. And that's why when you make turmeric paste is not only good for your dog, a teaspoon is not only good for your dog, it's also good for you. You can put it in a jar and just take a teaspoon a day and it lasts, I want to say it lasts about 2 weeks. It's good for. But turmeric paste is very good to make and cook down. Zola said, thought my phone was messing up. That's probably when I blacked out. So basically, as a new breeder, it's best to start with a male and female from a yard that has 5 to 10 litters under their belt for what you're looking for. Look at the traits of the dogs. Forget the human beings. Look at the traits of the dog. I would go for, personally, if I was you, I would go for 2 females is what I would do. If you, and then create your male plus buy a male. But you want to, what I look at it is this, get 3 males, get 3 dogs, 2 females, 1 male. Use that to create your next male. And that's the best advice that I would say as far as actually starting, because we were talking about when you know you're ready to start. Now, as far as starting, buying your dogs, I would say the best thing to do is get 2 females. You can use 1 female to create your male. your other female to outcross to breed to a male that you purchase, that you purchase or stud out. But I would say our initial plan when we got into Bullies was to buy 5 to 6 dogs. We knew 2 of those dogs were going to have to be tall because we knew we were going to be losing height as we bred for temperament and then ability and then structure. So, and we didn't want to fall into the standard class because we didn't want to be breeding standard. When we got King, my cousin took him out to Arkansas with his Cane Corso. King not only became King's right around 20, he's 26 to 27 inches. He definitely is not under 26 inches. But not only so as he was growing and we realized he was going to get taller, we were thinking, okay, well, he's displaying all the traits we're looking for. We have a 2-acre property out there, and he would run off bear, mountain lion. There was a pack of 3 young wolves that kept coming on. He would chase them off. So, and he would stop at the tree line and then come back because we didn't have a fence. So he displayed a lot of the traits that we were looking for. When he finally came back to California, he got along with cats, other dogs. My cousin would take him out in the big crowds of people. He loved it. If you point your phone at King, it's like he knows you're about to take a picture. He's just a big show off, but at home, he's very protective of his yard and his family. Another thing, which wasn't good, but it was definitely when we knew he was enough, we didn't need another male to fit all the little categories we were looking for, was King was attacked by a pit bull, and he folded the pit bull up. They broke up the fight. The pit bull wanted to keep fighting. King's tail was wagging like he wanted to play. If the pit bull was willing to play, he was willing to play. If it wanted to fight, he was willing to fight. That's just his demeanor. So we knew right then and there we didn't need to get another male to compensate. He fulfilled. We wanted 5 to 6 more dogs, 2 to 3 males. What was it? We wanted 5 dogs, possibly 6. 2 males, 3 females, possibly 4 females. Because of King's growth and his structure and his girth, he didn't grow up to be one of those tall dogs that's tall but not wide. He's tall and wide. Very bully, short muzzle for his size. So we ended up not needing one of the females we planned on getting and the male we planned on getting. Because of Cardi Bull and Lady Justice, that eliminated some of the females we possibly planned on getting, plus that one male, what we were looking to possibly get, that we planned on getting. So we planned on 5 to 6 dogs. We ended up settling with the 3 we had to create what we needed to create, and then we can get dogs after that based off of our creations. So I would say if you got the room for 2 dogs, get 2 females you can stud to a good male, based off of the structure of your females when they're ready to breed. If you've got room for 3 dogs, get 2 females, 1 male. If you only got room for 1 dog, then get yourself a female. But then you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do when you breed? And what are you going to do with your litters? So again, make sure you got friends and families that are into dogs, willing to hold puppies, willing to hold dogs for you, that you can use to breed to. As far as the breeder, I wouldn't say that they have to have 5 to 10 litters because they may have gotten dogs exactly what you need within 2 to 3 litters. Maybe off their first litter, they've bred 2 dogs. What I would do is I would look in, if they've got under 5 litters, look into, or a short amount of litters, look at those dogs, look at their pedigree, look in the breeders that those dogs came from. But don't take it biblically as they should have 5 to 10 litters. Look at that. Look at 5 to 10 litters as in, if they've got 5 to 10 litters, why do they still have flaws in their yards? That's how I would look at that. Other than that, this is an internet-driven world, internet-driven breed. If you've got dogs, if you see a dog you like, call that breeder and ask about the traits of the dog, the temperament, the ability, the structure of that dog. And if they've got what you want and it's their first breeding, run with it. If they can provide you video and of it, run with it. Let's see. Betsy said it's his Twilight Zone. Charles said, hello, dog people. I just realized I've been watching this live the whole time. What? Oh, you didn't know it was live. Yeah. It should say on there on YouTube. I think it says on there. Let's see. Eric Maxwell said you can also ask other breeders about other breeders. Yes, you can, but be careful because a lot of these breeders hate on each other. This is a drama-filled, community. So a lot of these breeders hate on each other. So be careful with that. If a breeder gives another breeder and their dogs a good reference, that's a good sign. But sometimes that breeder is just friends with them. I can name 3 breeders right off the bat right now, and I won't say their name, that all 3 of those breeders, not only are their dogs are okay, but they're cool with breeders that have terrible dogs. And they will refer people to those people just because that's their friend. So you got to be careful with that. Let's see. Hotep said, this just gave me a confirmation on what's been weighing heavily on my mind. Appreciate it. No problem. Solo says, should I get my female fixed if I'm not breeding? If so, what age is best? I would give her till about 3. If she's an American bully, which some of these dogs don't stop maturing till about 2 to 3 years old. The average female stops maturing at around 2 years old. The average, well, a year and a half to 2 years old. The average male stops maturing anywhere between 2 to 3 years old. I would say based off of her genetics, meaning her parents and when they stop developing, I would say give her till about 3 and then go ahead and get it done if you're not planning on breeding her. The main thing about spaying and neutering is what it causes and lack of development for the dog. Now, there are other issues with spaying and neutering, health issues that are starting to arise with dogs that are spayed and neutered. So I would look into it. What I will say is this. I've had females that have never been spayed and neutered and lived 10, 15, 16 years. If you're worried about the dog getting pregnant, keep it away from boys when she's in heat. Have a fenced-in yard. You got a nice size fence, there's a very slim chance a male from down the block is going to jump your fence. Rarely do they dig into the yard. These things do sometimes happen, but most times dogs breed accidentally is because they got loose. So I would say keep her under control, and then I wouldn't get her fixed at all. Thank you, bruh. Let's see. Somebody from Facebook said, looks like I'm only going with QB and K, Thrower Bullies, or Mr. Second to None. Hey, it's the right path. You know what I'm saying? That is a good start. King said, I agree with your answer about the Merle breeding. I figure the pups share the same genotype. So I will keep one of those pups without and breed back to a littermate offspring with the Merle gene. Yes, you can do that. You can definitely do that because the Merle gene is not there in that one pup. So yeah, that's 100% correct. And for some reason, I don't see enough Merle breeders. Here's a mistake I see Merle breeders making. They sell their Merle pups for this high amount. Then they sell their non-Merle pups for this low amount, and they don't keep any of those because they weren't Merle. Yet some of those non-Merle pups with no Merle gene had great traits also. So you could have used that dog in your program because it didn't have the Merle gene, but it got great traits from another Merle dog. So those are things to think about when you get into the Merle game. Don't miss out on your non-Merle pups. One, don't test your Merle pups for Merle because they show you that they're Merle. Don't waste that money. On your non-Merle pups, test those for which ones carry the Merle gene and which ones don't. Of those that carry the Merle gene, from my understanding of color and Merle pattern, I personally probably wouldn't breed it. Some people are saying you can. I wouldn't take the chance until one of you people say you can, goes and does it. But of your non-Merle pups, you can bring those back into your program in various ways to, especially if they've got structure and other traits that you like. So that's something to keep an eye on. So even like with our Merle, I'm more in love with her drive and her structure than I am with the fact that she's Merle. So when she is bred, we automatically know if we breed her, when we do breed her, we're going to keep the best structured pups off of that. We're going to have the Merle pups tested, all the non-showing Merle pups tested. And of those that don't have the Merle trait, we want the best structure off of those pups to bring back into our program. Let's see. RCB Nolan say, "Amen. Got to know your dogs. Got to watch." Exactly. How far behind am I on the comments? Not that far behind. Let's see. Betsy said, "I'm pretty sure I can see the flaws in mine and I'll recognize where it came from." You got to be able to. You got to be able to. You do not want to be kennel blind. And people have to also understand this bully community is so focused on looks. Before the internet, part of kennel blindness was also temperament and ability, not just structure. So you want to be able to see the temperament of your dog is a phenotype, just like color is. The difference is when it comes to temperament is you have to learn to see it. That's the difference. You have to learn to be able to see temperament. The more you learn drives and the more you learn the threshold of drives and how to test the dogs for those thresholds and those drives, the more you understand temperament. But temperament is another form of kennel blindness, just like structure. So most of these bully breeders are kennel blind. They might see all the bad structure, but they either don't care about it, or they might see the temperament, but they don't care. And a lot of them don't even know what they're looking at when it comes to temperament. You should be able to look at a dog's temperament and break that temperament down to which drives are being triggered. Bully Brad Kennel said, "True story, was walking my dog, saw a dude with nice dog. He said his parents, one red nose, one blue nose pit. So he said his pup was a purple nose pit." Wow. And they'll try to come up with it. Eric said, "You also want to learn how that blood develops." Yes. How does it develop? Ask the breeder what you should expect at certain ages with that dog based on how the parents develop. Very true. For instance, some of these dogs have high rears from 6 months to 8 months or even 12 months old. And then all of a sudden it goes away. Now, of course, as a breeder, you want to keep breeding with the dogs that don't have high rears, but it's great to know that he's got a high rear and all of a sudden at 8 months old, I saw it starting to level out. So you definitely want to know how the pups develop. Some of these dogs come out bully right off the bat. Some of these dogs don't hit that stage till they're 8 months to a year old. So yeah, that's a great point. Bully Brad Kennel said, "Kobe is a nice dog from DDK9. We have a female, Lady Justice, that is a Kobe daughter. And she is driven. She actually will. Before we realized bear hunting with dogs was illegal in California, she was used for tracking bear and was great at it. She's just an extremely driven dog. She gets along with anyone, everybody. But if my cousin says get him and he points at you, she's getting you. She does have a level of civil drive that is well balanced with her. She's a great dog. We plan on breeding her next year. Will be her first breeding, her first litter. Jason Bohr said, "Where's a good place to learn how to get started in bite work?" Ooh. As far as getting started, if it's something that you want to work with on your own, like I said, I do phone consultations on the beginning stages of bite work to get them out there. And as far as different, Larry Bordeneau, I'm not pronouncing his name right. I know I'm not. But he's a bully breeder, black guy. Want to say he's in Louisiana. So it depends on where you're at. You're going to have to look into your local area and look into those places that do protection work and bite work and go from there. If you're looking at doing it on your own, you can hit me up and I can give you some tips on how to, one, socialize and train the dog in the right manner, and then move on to doing a little bit of bite work. When we get into actual protection work, I can do with you. That's when I only give you the beginning stages, which has a lot to do with the socialization, and then from there you need to take your dog to a actual physical person to assist you with it from there. What I will say, if you want to start with the beginning phases of bite work, start with obedience. Make sure the dog downs on command. Make sure the dog comes on command. Make sure the dog releases on command. And make sure the dog stays on command. Teach the dog how to stay standing while standing. If it stays while sit, if you make the mistake of teaching the dog to sit before you teach it to stay, then it sits, okay, then cool. As long as it stays, but the dog should be able to down on command and stay. The dog should be able to sit on command. The dog should be able to stay on command, and the dog should be able to release, come to you on command, so heel, and the dog come back to you on command, and the dog or recall on command, and the dog should release on command, meaning that when you are playing with that dog in certain toys and you tell it to release, that dog releases. You want to work on those things. When you have worked on those things, then you know your dog is ready to get into bite work. Once it gets into bite work, then you know your dog is ready to get into more true protection work. Understand, though, a lot of bite work is just advanced obedience. It's an advanced game of tug of war. The dogs that excel in bite work doesn't mean that they will actually protect you. Trust me when I say that. Bite work or true protection has to do with how the dog is bred and how the dog is socialized. Because some dogs will stand their ground, but if I stand my ground, they back off. Some dogs, if I hit you, they will bite my pants leg, but won't bite me. And you don't know until the dog is put in those situations. You can get an idea of it by the pace that a dog approaches a threat or what it feels that is threatening. But if you're getting a dog from a breeder and they're not intentionally manipulating the protective drive in a dog, the prey drive in a dog, then you're not, and the dominance drive, rank drive, because those are things that you want low. Dominance drive and rank drive, I wanted those to be low drives in a dog. I want protection drive to be high. I want play drive to be high. I want purpose drive to be high. I want prey drive to be high. And you also want a dog that's intelligent, easy to train. When you've got those things going, then you know you're headed the right direction. When you see threats and there's no fence, your dog runs to the end of the leash, we don't know whether to protect you or not. When a dog runs fast to something that it perceives as a threat, there's a good chance that dog will also protect you. You want confidence around other dogs, but you don't want necessarily a dog that has to be dominant or is rank driven. You really have to look into places near you. As far as having the right dogs, that's more of a consultation thing. That's why I'm trying to throw out as much of it as I can here on the live, at least that I could think of. But those are things that you really want to watch for in your dogs, because there's the training, but then there's also the heat of the moment. Damian Voss, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Shout out to you for your training program. Thanks, big bro. Man, I'm glad things are working out. She did say she was supposed to send me video of Lisa was supposed to send me video of her working on the down. She didn't send it, so I'm gonna have to hit you guys up so I can see how things are going. But Damian is one of the clients that I dealt with. He breeds. They're actually getting ready to breed band dogs. They have a badass bully female. But they are getting ready to breed band dogs they have one band dog, and then they've also got a badass presser. So I actually went out to visit them, see their dogs, and work with them on just some behavioral training so that we can get to the beginning steps of protection training. But that's the thing, you guys, is when you get into protection training and bite work. Bite work you can kind of do, I guess, with a friend if you study enough YouTube videos. But when you get into action, I would suggest you don't. I know people that have and have succeeded in doing so. One guy I know started YouTube with he and his brother started just learning bite work off of YouTube and actually did do pretty well when they started protection training. But again, he had his brother, and they were accepting of the mistakes that might take place. And they did have quite a few mistakes. I would advise when you get into bite work, you deal with somebody that can meet up with you face to face. And the same thing with protection. I think you really have to you have to know and understand the dog that you're dealing with, how it was bred, what it was bred for, before you get into these things. When you start getting into that level, bite work you can kind of get away with a little bit because, like I said, it is an advanced form of tug of war. But when it comes to protection, you are now taking that bite work and implementing something new. So it's like even with Damien's dog and our last phase that I will go through, I will be doing simulating bite work, but without any gear. So that way the dogs, and then that'll be one of the fewer times that I start dealing with the dogs. But as we know, they're under control. So this is a perfect example. One of the things I do with protection training and bite work is the last phase of it is the breeder will have the dog, or the owner of the dog will have the dog. It'll be chained to something else. Plus they'll have the dog on a leash. So what I'll do then is I won't use sleeves. I will start agitating the dog with just my hands. I will start moving. Once I figure out the rhythm of the dog, I'll start testing the rhythm of the dog more. As I get to understand the rhythm of the dog, I will come close, slapping a paw, slapping the face of the dog, making sure that dog is willing to bite and snap at my hands. After that, that is pretty much the last phase I'll take it to. The person will then get the dog to calm down. I'll put back on the bite sleeve, and then they will let go of the dog to make sure that the dog can walk around me, still sit, stay, lay down, do all those things without jumping on me. The only reason I put the sleeve on at that time is just in case he got overly agitated and excited with that, with me doing the hand gestures and, manipulating him and agitating him with my hands. One thing I will say to you guys, if you're looking at getting into it also, you want to play in roughhouse with your dogs in a manner that they understand how your arms and legs work. A lot of times a dog runs at a person, the person expands themselves or puts their hands out, and the dog's confused because they've done bite work, but they're used to this position. You see what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that the dog understands how your hands work. And you don't have to get rough with the dog, but scratch a dog on the stomach and reach back around his leg and scratch his shoulder. Do these type of things, almost wrestling maneuvers. If anybody wrestled in high school, jiu-jitsu, do those types of little maneuvers, just playing and having fun with your dog. You don't have to get them overexcited, but get them to understand how these hands work and how arms work. When you're playing with your dog comes and it walks past you, you're sitting on the couch. Kick your leg up and sit your foot on your dog for a quick second. Get them to understand how our limbs and how our body works so that when they do finally get into a situation with a person, they're not intimidated by it or confused by it. If you guys ever watched the live between that me and Marlon from DDK9 did, one of the dope things he brought up on there was in protection training, too many people get locked on or glued on the dog being locked in one bite. But his concern with that was now you're opening the dog to be able to get stabbed. And this is true. There are a lot of people, I'm one of them. If I get attacked by a dog and I know it's about to go down, one of the things since I was young, one of the things I knew, I'm going to use my feet, I'm going to hit you, but I also know this next phase of this battle between me and this dog is going to be when that dog locks on to a limb. At that point, I now have the advantage as long as I'm on my feet, even if I'm not on my feet and getting up, because the dog's locked on that limb. Now there's all kinds of things I can do to that dog. So like Marlon brought up when we did the live, that was one of his concerns when he does protection training with his dogs. He wants his dogs to be observant of what's going on, and he also wants his dogs to be willing to release, and re-grip, whereas most protection trainers teach the dog to never let go until told. So that's something to think about when you're dealing with, protection trainers, because sometimes trainers, we get locked into what we know and then we stop learning and we stop being creative. And you want somebody that's constantly learning, constantly being creative. And when Marlon and I was having that conversation, he was one of the people that opened my eyes that he's one of those people that's constantly learning, constantly being creative. Besides the shenanigans he pulls on social media. Let's see. Ooh, I'm in a group. I will post for pulls coming up. Not sure what that is. Are there any shows coming up in Philly? Go to Giant XL. You are on Facebook. Can't see who it is. Go to Giant XL American Bully Breed Group. And when you go to the same section, go to the guide section. Scroll to the bottom. The very last category in the guide section is bully events. And I just updated today. It lets you know all the upcoming events. You can go there, look at the flyers, and see where there's located. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say there are some in the Philly area. But definitely go. I got rid of all the ones that have passed, and it's now updated. So you should be able to find something in there that's in your area. Someone from Facebook said, if a pup doesn't show thick rear, is it possible for it to gain more substance in the hind legs when it goes through its popping stages? Yes. And you can also, yes, definitely there is. You can also do, light exercises that help it develop that. Just remember it's a pup, so you don't want to overdo it and mess up his structure. But yeah, if he's lacking in the rear, that is something that can pop, just like the head can pop later. And most rears do. You start seeing bone and width, and then all of a sudden you start seeing more rear, and then all of a sudden you start seeing head. So yeah, I would say give it time. Look at the pup's parents. If they've got thick rears, chances are he's going to have that thick rear also. And don't hesitate to ask the breeder. You already invested the money, so you might as well see what his answer is. And now you've got time to see if he's honest. RCB, now is another thing I advise to a person during consultation. Now that you've had a dog for a year, call that breeder and ask them about the dog and see if they're honest about what they say. How should the dog develop, etc. Don't show them pictures. Just hit them up. RCB Nolan said, it works well for every dog I've had except blue dogs. Not sure what that one was. Trying to think of what topics we might have been on. Not sure what that one was. Let's see. Bully Bread Kennel said, Victor, real great, but I use Victor Beef Select because it's 22 or 24 protein. See, that's cool because I don't work dogs, but Victor, great for sure. See, that's cool. Right in there. So, like, I want to say pedigrees like 18, 19, or 20%. Then I'm also adding raw beef. I'm adding sweet potato. I'm adding things to it, on selective days. But 22, 24%, that's cool. When you start getting that 25, 26, 28%, that's just too much. Let's see, that was Dion talking to RCB talking to Miss Dr. Peebles. Let's see, where are we? Got to be with, okay, Catahoula. I think that was when we were talking about the Merles. Kasha said, I do have an Instagram. I'm already followed you. And we're back. I don't know if that's a phone thing or if that's this program I'm using, because it's almost every hour and 20 minutes it kicks me out. Okay, hit me up now. I suck at Instagram, but because you just put that, hit me up on Instagram, and by tomorrow I will make sure I go through Instagram, and I'm probably flooded with messages on there that I haven't been through. I got to get better with that. So hit me up on Instagram and we'll chop it up. Let's see. Solo said best age to neuter my female. I think we hit that, which would probably I would say 3 years old. If you're determined to do it, I would say wait till about 3. That way you know all the genetics have done what they're supposed to do and all the hormones. Have one with one blue eye and a double blue eye in Lincoln's litter. Both almost full Merle in appearance, but didn't get Lincoln's height. There you go. Let's see. Rhodes said, I'm going to hit you on Facebook Messenger about the weight pool show, brother. Yeah, definitely hit me up and we'll search some down. Let's see. RCB says strawberries and blueberries. Yeah, those are my consistent. I eat more into, strawberries and blueberries. Those are my consistent. Cantaloupe and honeydew. There we go. So that was to the question. Hopefully she's still on here. About fruits, because sometimes my mind goes blank with all these comments and stuff. Pineapple to deter poop eating. Yes, that I've heard. Embark test for the Merle. Okay, so Embark does test for the Merle gene. RCB Nolan said it comes down to recessive and dominant genes always. What do you think about dual sire breedings? I think they're cool. When I was young, we had a badass female Lightner red nose. And we also had a badass Lightner male. Plus, we had a badass bull mastiff that a buddy of mine wanted to do a breeding to. Wanted me to breed that female to. And this was going to be my last litter by her. I promised me and her that she was never going to be bred again. So we did a dual sire breeding. And that breeding came out. No, that wasn't the bull mastiff. That was the Doberman. It was a Doberman. Extremely human aggressive Doberman. And we did that breeding and we got pups off of that. The pups, you could kind of tell which ones came from which. And so those all went to that dude. And then the other pups, because I didn't want any pups off of it. And the other pups went to my homie to help his litter get going. The thing that people have to understand is dual sire breedings are a great thing. You don't understand that the female decides how many pups you're having. The males decide how many, whether you're getting males and females. So you want to do dual sire breedings to females that are known for having large litters. So that way you get more pups. The males are going to battle it out as to who hit what eggs. They are not battling out for genetics. You will have some pups will come from this male. Some pups will come from that male. None of the pups will come from both males. So understand that when it comes to dual sire breedings. But also make sure to do them with females that are known to have large litters, so that you get the selection you want. Facebook user said, I'm fairly new to the bully community, but it seems as there is a 50-50 feeling about Merle bullies. Why is that? I think they are beautiful dogs, but it seems there are mixed feelings on them. There are mixed feelings due to the bully community is a community that hates the so-called OGs, and the older breeders hate anything that might step on their toes. Merles, new breeders, new good dogs, anything that has to do with that, that's one of the reasons. The other reason, which is a valid reason, is this is a very uneducated community. So when you introduce Merle, now you increase the chance of the issues that come with Merle breedings, and especially Merle to Merle breedings, or people not testing dogs that came from a Merle breeding but don't show the Merle gene. So that is also a valid reason. But a lot of those same breeders don't take the time to educate people. So who are they to have an issue with anything that takes place? The ABKC registers Merle, UKC does not. ABKC, from what I'm hearing, is soon will be allowing Merle into the show ring. So who is somebody to tell you not to breed Merles as long as you are doing it properly? Educate yourself on it, do it correctly, and then when you sell Merle puppies, try to send them to pet homes and people who aren't interested in breeding, but educate those people about the Merle gene. And then if you do decide to sell Merle puppies to breeders, make sure that you are giving them the education that you have learned, and there should be no issues. And they do make beautiful dogs. They do. They catch the eye from a distance. Tilia Labs is the best bet to test the Merle gene length. I didn't know that, so that's good to know. So you guys who are looking into the Merles and getting into the Merles, look into that, because he's talking about the Merle gene length. He's talking about the tail, whether it's MM capitals or MM1M Merle, and then the lowercase m, and how that affects the genetics of the breeding. So definitely look into that. That's good to know. Let's see. Spirit said, "Oh no, ish." Interesting. She is always on the live in her own. Betsy be having her own live going during my lives. Dom said, "I don't necessarily care for color, but regular black dogs got my eye." Yeah, I have an affection towards all black dogs. I think that is because I originally got heavy going with dogs with pits, but my love at the same time started with my rock. And he was just a great dog. What was dope about him is, one, he was a sight to see. I used to take him to Venice Beach in the 90s when it used to be packed and crowded. The other thing is, he's a dog I had when I was young and ignorant, all the way to when I had kids, was married. So he went through most of the major phases of my life. He was there. That's why he will always be my numero uno. Floyd's crazy ass is pushing a very close tie for numero uno, just because that dog has been to hell and back and enjoyed every second of it. Let's see. Montgomery said more Bullies comes from Catahoula, Alapaha, and Great Dane crosses. Just so many didn't want to tell the truth when they were doing the crosses. I agree 100%. Catahoula, especially Alapaha. I don't know any that I've looked at and would have said Great Dane, but I know a bunch, and most of them I would look at and say Catahoula and Alapaha. Because when you breed to a Great Dane, those characteristics show. It's hard to breed a Great Dane to another breed and not see the Great Dane in that dog. And the Merles, I've noticed, tended to still be bully or very unbully, and which we know is the Catahoula, and the ones that tend to be bully tend to be the Alapaha. But you also got to remember the Alapaha comes with an underbite. So that's something to pay attention to when you're looking at Merles. Betsy said, "No edge. My razor don't make them think I know what I'm talking about." Let's see. Rocka style. Am I pronouncing that right? Said, "I'm fairly new to the bully community, but it seems there is okay." So you jumped on YouTube. Yeah. And again, if you guys are on Facebook, so that it looks like I'm seeing the comments, so everything is going smooth. But in order for me to see who you are and guaranteed see the comments, join the YouTube, subscribe, and then that way I definitely won't miss you. Let's see. So I think we answered that question. Let's see. Betsy said, "I would never presume to speak on Razor's Edge." Let's see. RCB Nolan said, "I think it's sad that gene that was deemed a breed fault due to defective gene or per breed standard should not be changed. One consistent look for the American bully is the goal." Well, exactly. And as you guys, most of you know, in the bully community, they look at me as somebody who doesn't respect or care about the breed standard. I understand what the bully's supposed to look like, so the breed standard is not a thing for me. I breed for breed type. When we get the temperament that we want, exactly how we want it, then and we decide we're going to look into getting into the show ring off of our own productions, that's when I will pay attention to the standard. I'm not one of those that's going to walk into the show ring and my cousins got the same mentality. We don't want to get into the show ring just so we can get championships and say we got a champion dog. When we enter in that show ring, that will be a dog that we produce that we feel should guarantee beat out every dog for Grand Champion XL. So, therefore, when we get to that stage, that's when we'll be focused on the intricacies of the written standard. What we won't do is but we will have two lines at that point. One line that we are breeding for great family protective companions, and then another line that is capable of the same thing, but a little more veered towards winning Grand Champion in the show ring. And so those are the two lines of bullies that we plan on having when we get everything together. But because they make those changes with the standard, that's why it's hard for me to just say, you know, I will do this because of the standard, or I won't do that because of the standard. Let's see. And what time is it? We are on 8 o'clock. Okay. Ooh, shit. That's 3 hours, y'all. RCB said people scared to speak up and speak. Change will not occur unless the people speak. I agree 100%. I try to do my part. There are a few others. But it's difficult. It's difficult because most people are afraid of the drama, and most people are in a position to where they are affected by the drama of Facebook. You know, so I think we need to get more and more breeders that participate on Facebook because it is a heavy influence, but also their yard, their kennel, their brand is outside of social media. You know, get your Instagram going. If you got Instagram going, you don't have to worry about people hating on you on Facebook. You know what I mean? Get your website going. Then you don't have to worry about people hating on you on either one. Get your family, friends, co-workers, knowing that you got these great, beautiful dogs, what these dogs' temperaments are, what their ability is, and how their structure is and their look. Then we can all help shape the American Bully community without those people who like the turmoil and the confusion and claim to be about the breed and bettering the breed, but yet their yards are trash, so therefore they trash other people. Then we can start, because those are going to be the people that come for you. I've never had anybody with well-structured dogs come for me in the American Bully community. It's always been people who feel what I'm saying or I'm breeding steps on their toes, or what I'm saying or what I'm breeding off jump is comparable to what they've been doing for 10, 15, 20 years. And those are the people that bring on the hate. And it's never going to be the people who are focused on bettering their yards. Let's see. Beth B said, I got to get up crazy early for hunting, so I'll catch the rest tomorrow. So thanks for the show. We'll be headed out mid this month. We'll be headed to Arkansas for deer hunting. So there will probably be one live that I'll miss, but I will probably go live while we're out there. So I'll figure that out. Somebody from Facebook said, people so soft nowadays, you can't give them constructive criticism without them taking it the wrong way. Very true. You can't. And now here in their defense, you have to think about it, because some people are just posting their dog, and they don't want criticism. So that's why you have to watch the way you go about the criticism. You know, if you got a fur mom, she never plans on breeding, but she posts her first bully, and you're like, hey, he's got weak pasterns and high rear, and she's gonna be upset, you know. So we have to watch the way we look about. What I tend to do is wait till I know that this person is a breeder, and then at that point I will hit them up through Messenger and say, hey, look at these things. This is an issue in the community, so it's definitely not on you. I have the same issue. This is how you want to work on fixing it, or whether it's through this type of conditioning or exercise, or it's through what you need to think about breeding too. Rashad Davis said, know what you want first. I see a lot of people buying dogs just to get one, but have no clue what they'll want to produce. Very true. Very, very true. Was somebody, oh, top of the class. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Said, how do I help build confidence in a dog at 10 months? I'm speaking on that boy I showed last night on the stack off. As far as in the stack off, repetition. Keep doing it. The other thing is, there's a demeanor that you're going to have and a vibe that you're going to have just because you know me, Danny, Raul, and Bobby are watching. Reciprocate. I mean, try to repeat those emotions. However you felt last night doing the stack off, try to repeat that in your body and think about that. Get that camera out, set it up, and pretend that we're watching, so that everything emotion that hits you is now tuning itself into the dog, because it's making its way into the dog every time you touch the dog. It's making its way to the dog as you're holding that leash. It's all going down that leash into that dog. And with that being said, repetition. Keep doing it over and over and over and over. Get the dog out, socializing it. Dogs know that when I was young, you didn't have camera phones. So you can grab your phone and you could talk in your phone. The dog just looked at it like, who are you talking to? What are you doing? Now we're pointing our cameras at our dogs. So over time, they realize there's something going on with this. You know what I'm saying? That camera thing is facing me, looking at me with that little eyeball. So they know there's something going on with it. Get used to it. That's why I said, when I grab my phone, I can talk on my phone all day. Cardi Bull don't pay no attention. The minute I point it at her, she starts getting excited. She knows something up. King will actually pose for you. So they know that there's something up with our cameras these days, especially us as breeders who are taking pictures for social media. So set your camera up. Get yourself back in that vibe. Pretend me, Danny, and Raul and Bobby are watching, and then go through the format. You know what I'm saying? Go through it so that you can put that vibe into your dog, and that will help build up the dog's confidence. Also, make sure that you're use treats. The dog stats perfect. After you finish the stack, say yes, then bam, give it a treat. You walk the dog side. What else do we have you guys do? We have you guys walk the dog towards the camera. When you get the dog walking towards the camera perfectly, stop, let him stand there. Say yes. Give him a second to stand there and stay. Say yes perfectly, and give him a treat. Stack him in front of the camera. When he stacks perfectly and he holds it, tell him to stay. He holds it. Yes, give him a treat. What do we have you do? Then we have you walk away from the camera. So do that. Walk away from the camera. He walks perfectly by your side. He's looking good. His tail is up. Yes, give him a treat. He's looking up at you. Yes, give him a treat. Also, get him used to looking up at you and keeping his head up by putting treats by your face. Keep them by your face. When they focus on your face for a length of time, bam, give it to them. 10 seconds. 20 seconds, give them a treat. 30 seconds, give them a treat. 40 seconds, give them a treat. You want to go longer and longer. And then what's the last one we have you do, I think, is we have you walk side by side so we can see the dog from the side. Do the same thing. Walk him. Boom. Sideways, sideways. Instead of doing it once or twice, do it 10, 15 times. Bam. Good boy. Give him a treat. That's going to have his adrenaline and his excitement up and have his confidence up, so that when you do the next stack off, and then you want to do it sometimes with the treat, sometimes without the treat, sometimes with the treat. Once he gets it all perfect with the treat, start doing it without the treat. Then go back to doing it with the treat. You get what I'm saying? Do one thing with the treat, one thing without. One thing with the treat, one thing without. One thing with no treat. Then feed him, give him a treat when the whole thing is done. So he should never, once he gets it perfect, you don't want him to have an idea of when he's going to get a treat. But know that one's going to come at some point, as long as you've done all this perfect. And then that way, when you're stacking him off, he's ready to go. Let's see. Solo said, thanks, no per contract from breeder. Not sure what that one is. PPK's Rico 508. What's up? Temperament is one of the first things you should be looking for. It's the very first thing you should be looking for. It is the very first thing you should be breeding for. The better the temperament of the dogs you receive, the sooner you are able to focus on your next phase, which should be ability and then structure and then color and all that other stuff. And the thing is this: temperament tends to beget ability. Ability tends to beget structure. So if you start in that process and you're breeding for those things, as they get better, things will also tend to get better. That's why when people talk about the inconsistencies in the breed, one of the inconsistent reasons we have inconsistencies in the breed is we allow too many flaws that come from other breeds that were used to make our breed. If we start saying, okay, we're eliminating, since we don't have a job for the dog, we don't have a performance expectation for the job, for the dog, if us salon breeders and judges will start saying, okay, we are going to breed out flaws. We are going to get rid of flaws. From now on, when you walk, and when I'm talking about flaws, I'm talking about species flaws, not breed flaws. Species flaws is weak pasterns, splayed toes, high rears, cowhawk. When we start saying, and in large breeds, bulky breeds, cowhawk is not that big of a deal as long as it's only slight. But what we want to be saying is when we start breeding to get rid of flaws, forget the bone in the head and all these other things and the weight and the height, and just breed to get, what's she barking at? That was a little intense. If we start breeding just to get rid of flaws, we'll see consistency slowly start coming together, because what'll happen is we'll start eliminating flaws that came from other breeds. So if you get rid of the high rear that came from a cane corso that came into somehow your blood, guess what you might also get rid of? That cane corso muzzle. When we start looking at this that way, we'll start seeing more consistency within our breed. And that's what we got to aim for within it. Get rid of the species flaws so that the breed can start coming together a little bit. And then we can take it further when we're looking for the things that the breed should have: the mass, short muzzle, square head, etc. Let's see. James Galloway, thanks for joining in. We're going through the comments, which always means we're about to wrap it up. Eric said, got to realize that protection work is somewhat a team thing. Exactly. I think that's what I was trying to say earlier. You're going to need people to act as an agitator and know how to receive any bites from a dog without hurting themselves and the dog. Exactly. That's what I was trying to get at earlier. So there's some parts of the temperament and the demeanor that you can mold. But when you're talking about actually doing bite work and building the dog's confidence with bite work and understanding how limbs of a human operate so that that confidence is maintained regardless of the human it comes against, you need another person like me. I'm not a big dude. So you need that 220, 230 pound, because what if that's the person that comes in? You don't want your dog to have done a bunch of bite work with a dude that's 80 pounds and all of a sudden some dude that's 240 comes breaking in your house. That's going to be some intimidation. Now, if the dog is bred correctly, it ain't going to matter how big they are. He going to get them. Let's see here. Eric says, okay, that was to Betsy. Let's see what other. Bully Pitch Fusion Canada. What's up to Canada? Said, do you have an alternative instead of slat mill or any mill specifically to get the dog max sprint? The slat mill is the best for sprinting. The carpet mill is also an alternative, but you have to watch how you work the carpet mill. The carpet mill takes more force from the dog, builds muscle faster, causes the dog to overheat faster. I advise carpet mill to be done maybe 10, 15 minutes on a dog that's in great shape. The slat mill, you can let a dog do that shit for forever. But the slat, if you're looking for speed, when you say max sprint, you're looking for speed, the slat mill is best. The carpet mill is good, but you need to make sure you are watching the dog for overheating. When you start to notice the dog is drooling, you're good. But that's when you want to really keep an eye on the dog. When you start to notice the dog is the drool is turning to foam, that's when you need to stop. So the carpet mill, to me, was always, because I used to work a slat and carpet mill, I would always use the carpet mill as a last part of conditioning. just to get that dog to run, get all those muscles you've been doing, all these things, isolating various muscles. Now you do the slap mill to bring it together, and then or my bad, I would do the carpet mill before the slap mill. Then I would have them do the carpet mill, which builds muscle, builds power. It builds that quick first step and that quick burst that a dog may need. And then after that, I would let them out. And I would do the carpet mill for about, I want to say 5, because I was already conditioning them. If I was being that lazy that day, I would do maybe 7 to 10 minutes, but my dogs were extremely conditioned. If I was doing that, being lazy that day, I would do 7 to 10 minutes, and then I'd put them on the slap mill. But so make sure you are closely observing your dog when it comes to the carpet mill. You don't want them overheating on it. Let's see here. James, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Said, what age is the puppy label go away? As far as calling I'm assuming you're saying label is like, when do we stop calling a dog puppies? I stopped calling them pups probably about a year and a half. Right around a year and a half is when, especially working dogs, is when you notice that temperament is starting to pinpoint and really, really fine tune. Up until about every now and then you get a young dog that is great at a year. But right around a year and a half is when it's just all about experience. Like the body and the mind is working. Now everything is just about putting the dog in the situations to grow and experience. So when you're talking about any other breeds that aren't being used for work, they tend to be a little more immature than your than your dogs that have come from lines that are bred for work. So I would say around a year and a half. But also size has a lot to do with it. Some dogs don't fully mature. They might mentally until they're about 2, especially with your larger breed. So I'd say from a year and a half to 2 years is when you throw the puppy label away. Now, just in case that was a typo, and it's what age is the puppy able to go away? I would assume you'd be talking about breeders, and that's at 8 weeks. If you're working breeders tend to want their pups at about 6 weeks. I was always a 5-week person. Once that pup is off the nipple, I want them, especially for working dogs. Bullies, I prefer they be with the litter a little bit more. Most pups are ready to go about 8 weeks. Bullies, most breeders do about 10 weeks because they're picking their pups at about 8 weeks. Everybody comes and picks the pups. Matter of fact, we do 10 weeks. So at 8 weeks, we do the picking the pups, have more conversations with the homes that the dogs are going to. And then from 8 to 10 weeks, we start doing a lot of pup imprinting where we start teaching the pup to sit, stay, potty, where to potty, where not to. We start working on all those things so that when you get the pup home, it's ready to go. And that's what we spend that last 2 weeks work. I mean, we start before the 2 weeks, but now it's more of an emphasis at 8 weeks so that you as the breeder don't have as much to work on. So if I notice this pup's going to a home where there's little kids, for instance, well, they picked their pup at 8 weeks. Now I know, and they just wanted the most hyper pup in the litter. Even though I tried to talk them out of it, and they've got little kids plus a newborn, and glass all over the coffee table and all kinds of stuff, then I'm going to start working with that pup on obedience training, sit, stay. I'll start working with it on the beginning stages of down. And just to get the pup to understand that there's a time and a place, I'll start letting that pup run around the house a little bit more than I might, taking him, separating him from the other pups, letting him run around the house more than the other pups. We even have one thing where we will set up cans and get the pups. They start to understand if you want to get to where this treat is, then you got to maneuver through these cans. If you knock a can over, I'm going to grab you and I'm going to start you over. I'm going to sit the can up. They start to understand place and time and how to maneuver. So there's different things that we do with our pups to get them ready for not just the homes they're going to, but for that specific home they're going to. Betsy said, bring them over every morning. Let's see. Bully Brett Kennel said, Victor Till is a 30 protein. Okay, 30 protein is a lot. There's no need for a non-working dog to be on 30% protein. That's a lot. You can do more harm to the dog than you are doing good. One of the things they're looking at they're wondering now, why did we have all these cheap brands of kibble and dogs were fine? Then all of a sudden we started getting all these high name brands of kibble with higher protein. And all of a sudden, dogs started becoming allergic to kibble and not digesting it as well. One of the things that they're looking at now is the high protein for dogs. Because what happened is we had higher protein kibble for working breeds that were fed only at the time people were feeding, like me. You feed pedigree, and then you uptake the kibble when you get ready to start working or conditioning your dog. But what those brands then got popular to people who weren't working and conditioning their dogs, and then the next thing you know, they're feeding these high protein dog foods, which is not good. Betsy said, really, males determine sex, females litter size, huh? Yes. Males determine the sex because they have both the X and Y chromosome to offer. Females only have X chromosome, and then she carries the eggs. So the male just shoots his X and Y sperm in there, and then the female does. And some of those eggs are, depending on how many eggs she has, is how many puppies you're gonna have. So males determine the sex because they have the X and Y chromosome. Female determines the litter size because she's the one with the eggs. Snap, I heard, let's see here. You go back and read this later. Oh, I know. It all makes more sense to me. Yes. You guys' comments, especially to each other, when I go back. I haven't normally been going back to read them later, but that is something I told myself that I'm going to start doing the next day, is going back through the comments and responding to various comments, especially if I can't remember whether I caught it. But that's why I try to catch you guys' comments before I get off the live, which we're about to do shortly. Where are we at? 8:09 on the comments, and it's 8:30, so I'm about 20 minutes behind. You will see I'm not that blind. Don't worry, I know. Dom said, anyone know how Mufasa passed away? Badass boy right there. I did hear he passed. I don't know how, though. That I don't know. Bully Pitch Fusion Canada says should have third line working style bully. Kind of like old school weight pool pits that were bigger and thicker. Exactly. Which the ADBA has, the what do they call them? The working pit bull. Not quite American Bully standard, but also not ADBA pit bull. Pit standard. Exactly. Let's see, Bully Fusion. Somebody agreed. Spirit set per ADBA. Let's see. Rocka Style said, Daryl, any info I can get more on the gray line breed? This is Jordan, who owns Ghost from Luna. Oh, okay. What's up, dude? Just trying to understand more on their protective / soldier nature to better train. I am actually Gary Moore, who owns we were talking about things that are good for the coat. Gary Moore, Gary, along with his brother Tony Moore, started Gray Line. Gary Moore, who rest in peace to Tony Moore. Gary has his own line of various products for skin and coat issues that he calls Dox Oil. So if you go online and you Google Dox Oil, you'll find his products on there. Very good products, are natural, and he tests them out on his dogs first. But he's a super cool dude. I'm actually thinking, okay, I can't say it because he told me not to, but Gary's got some breedings coming up that are maintaining and bringing back that fire to Gray Line. When it comes to the Gray Line dogs, when you think of Juan Gotti, everybody talks about Gotti Line, which was started by the dog Juan Gotti. Juan Gotti was a gray line dog. Then after that, Gotti line bred him to dogs, and then a bunch of other people claiming Gotti line bred that line to anything they could get their hands on and called it Gotti line. So you had Dave Wilson with Razor's Edge and breeding Staffordshires, and then you had Gray Line, who was breeding Blue Pits or Staffordshires. The Gray Line dogs were not for show; they were extremely high-driven dogs. You know, I knew a lot of people back in the 90s, 2000s that were using Gray Line dogs to get their band dog program started. So then Gray Line produces a dog named Juan Gotti. Juan Gotti gets used to start Gotti Line, and then Gotti Line and Razor's Edge meet to create the American Bully. That is how this all began. So really it's Gray Line and Razor's Edge. Well, no, because Gotti started with Gotti Line. None of them were lines. Gray Line was actually a true bloodline. You know, they were doing line breeding and inbreeding. Gotti Line, you know, was doing more breeding to the next biggest dog and then started doing line breeding and inbreeding. So I guess Gotti Line did have a line, but a lot of those guys who were claiming Gotti Line, there were a lot of people claiming Gotti Line that didn't have true Gotti Line dogs. But anyway, a mixture of all that, the truth and the lies, is what made the American Bully. So when you're looking at so Luna, for instance, loves Gray Line dogs, and her dogs are heavily influenced by Gray Line. So you're looking at dogs that are more protective, have a higher drive. Doesn't mean that just because the dog is chill and mellow and acting like it's supposed to act in the house, that it doesn't have a high drive when it gets out. So you really want to be in tune with that protective nature of those dogs, because Luna does breed, and Luna is Mystic Moon Bullies, if you guys check her out. But she wants driven dogs, she wants protective dogs in her American Bullies, and that she gets that and obtains that from the Gray Line, and making sure that she is constantly somehow infusing Gray Line in her breedings. Let's see. Hopefully that answered the question. Just trying to understand more on their protective soldier nature. So I hope that answers your question. But Gray Line dogs were great, were driven dogs, and they were great protection dogs. Some people were using them for fighting back in the day. A lot of them went into band dog programs back in the day. So that soldier attitude, that tends to be there with a Gray Line dog. They do not get intimidated by your action or you trying to intimidate them. It's going to cause them to get frustrated rather than them get intimidated. And that's what you're looking for in a protective dog. A dog that is good with family, friends, my other dogs that I own, but understands that that if something goes wrong, and the way you keep a dog good around family, friends, and understand, tire that dog out. That's the best way to keep a driven dog driven, yet still good with everybody and everything in the home. Long games of fetch, tug of war, spring pull, flirt pull. Give them outlets for that drive on their own, by themselves. Playing with the other dog. If you do it with another dog that you have, you got to keep a close eye for tension. They need to know that, you know, you got one dog has the ball and the other dog is snipping at his mouth or getting all in its way. You put a stop to that so that you don't have issues later in the house, that they understand there is never a point. You're competing to get to the ball. You're not competing bringing it back. And when you get to the ball, there better not be no scuffles. Those are the things you want to look at. But also take the time to separate the dogs and do individual things. Just remember, you got to do that with the other dog, because you want them both to be tired out at the same time. And when you give dogs those outlets, they make better decisions on who to protect and who to protect and who to protect from. And so you want to give them that outlet. That's something you definitely want to do, is make sure that you are exercising those dogs on a daily basis. Push them hard, condition them like 2-3 times a week. and that's the best thing you can do for them and their decision making. And back to that, one of the things we have to remember is we as humans operate best when we're calm. It's the same thing for dogs. We learn best when we're calm. It's the same thing for dogs, but dogs are naturally bred to have somewhat of an ADHD mentality to them. So when you tire them out, dogs tend to sit back and be more observant of the household and what's going on. So that's what I should have said in the beginning of that. And that's how you get a better balanced dog. Jason Barr said, you started out with a tall dog and are going smaller. I'm starting with a 19-inch bitch and trying to add size and ability. Already have pretty good temperament. So if you've got a 19-inch female, which is XL, because the females are 19 to 22 inches. So she's already an XL. If you're now looking for size, meaning height, then you're looking for length of leg. You want to be careful with that, because remember, the Bullies not supposed to be a long-legged dog compared to their width. So what did you say? You say you started out with a tall dog and you're going smaller. I'm starting with 19-inch bitch and trying to add size and ability. 19-inch female is good because that means she more than likely will produce males bigger than her, which means they'll be 20 to 23 inches. I would just go for it. If you've got what you want as far as temperament, then as you're breeding for size, constantly test your pups and look at your pups. So you now breed to a dog who's got size. Don't go sloppy. Just he's got size. Good looking dog. He's clean, but he's got size. You breed to him. You now want to start looking at those pups and which ones are going to give you that size and ability. You might have to, since you got a female that already has ability, she can be your go-to, but you might, I would say, go for ability first. When you've got that locked in, then start going for size. Start breeding the dogs, get bigger. And then you're going to have to, it's going to be, if size is here and abilities, if abilities here and size is here, you're going to have to meet somewhere in the middle. Hold on, let me plug my phone in because my battery's getting weak. You're going to have to, it's a give and take relationship. So you're going to have to figure out where you want to meet in the middle on that subject. And why is my phone not charging, but it's plugged in? Okay, there we go. So there's going to be a give and take. There should never be a give and take when it comes to temperament. But when it comes to size, and there should never be a give and take when it comes to structure, because that should have been the last thing you were breeding for after ability. So don't give on temperament, don't give on structure. But when it comes to size and ability, you're going to have somewhat of a give and take, unless that ability is just to be protective. If it's a functionality, ability, a physical functionality, not mental, then you're going to have a give and a take as you breed for size, especially if you're looking at going into the show ring at any time. I feed Penny Newman meat-based kibble. I think you said that last time, and I hadn't heard of it. I don't know if they sell that near me. Dom Seguenza said, I've heard Fabian Remy owners said dominant males naturally try to produce females. That's not true, because they don't want competition later on down the line. How true is that? Respect to Fabian, but that's not true. That's not true at all. Dominant males just want to have sex. They don't care what produce. As the males get older, they will start to have issues with those males. But I've never heard nothing like that in my life. No, dominant males do not try to have birth to more females. That is not true. Respect to Fabian. Remy is one of my favorite dogs in the bully game, but that's not true. Let's see. So what will you get with gray line blood and old Remy? If you breed gray line blood to old Remy, you're gonna get a hot dog. You're definitely gonna get a hot dog. No problem, man. Thanks for asking any questions whatsoever. And hopefully things are still going good, because I know you and I had the phone conversation. So I'm assuming hopefully things are still going good. Let's see. Betsy said, "How old is Ghost now? May I ask? What is he? I think he's about. I think he's a year. Just in case you didn't see your question, I want to say they're just over a year. Do I like Ellis blood? Oh, we're down to the last question, and it's Ellis blood. Uh, Lady Justice is off of DDK9's, who we own, is off of DDK9's Kobe. Kobe is the son of DDK9's The Hulk. Hulk is the son of Ghostface. Ghostface was an Ellis bred dog. The way I feel about Ellis is this. For whatever reasons, they have a lot of flaw issues in their dogs if you're not paying attention to the way you are breeding those dogs. I think when you have Ellis, you have a naturally big dog. So you need to start automatically taking that dog to other dogs that are focused on conformation. If I'm not mistaken, Matt Meredith uses a lot of Ellis blood in his dogs, and he's got some great looking dogs. But he knows what he's doing. Other people have gone Ellis to Ellis and had issues. Other people have gone Ellis to another big dog and had flaw issues or structural issues. Right now, our male, I just forgot my dog's name. Our male T'Challa, who came from King, bred to our female Kinsey. He will be our black stud that we've been hiding from the community. We'll be showing him soon. He's about 6-7 months old, but T'Challa's got a little homie that's the same age as him that he likes to play with. That is a Ellis dog, and so far, that dog is well structured. But I don't remember who he is. I want to say his mom was an Ellis dog, and I don't remember what his dad was. So Ellis is all about the way you breed it. You're gonna get the size, you're gonna get the bone, but you need to be smart in how you breed it. And what I'm saying is from like 5 years ago, from what people were saying about 5 years ago. So I don't know what, I know Ellis, they've got younger, breeders. I want to say they've got sons that are still breeding. So I don't know now what's going on with it, but that was what was said in the past, is that you had to be careful with it. And I saw the proof of what was being said in the past. Dom said, "Thank you, brother, for the knowledge again. No problem." And besides Bessie's, that was the last comment. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Again, remember, follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Thrower Bullies Instagram, Thrower Bullies Facebook. And again, we'll be back next Tuesday. We're going an hour earlier now. So we'll be back next Tuesday, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And we out.